Chapter 1359. Lord Wuhan, where are we going? Ancient God, Chung Yuan asked. The Grand Elder had chosen 3 people to follow Xian Wuing. The rank 8 Ancient God Sundermount, the peak rank 8 Ancient God Chung Yuan, and the peak rank 8 Ancient God Resplendence. After all, the majority of the Ancient Gods needed to remain on the battlefield to restrain the members of Ancient Soul Hall. 3 people was the maximum number of people that could be mobilized. Leave this place as soon as possible. Only then can our clansmen evacuate earlier. Xian Wuheng whispered. As long as they were out of danger, the remaining giant god race members would be able to flee. Therefore, Xian Wuheng didn't have a target now. He just needed to run as far away as he could. Someone's coming. Zhao Feng suddenly spoke. Ancient Soul Hall had the advantage in numbers and strength. Even if the giant god race used all its strength, it would not be able to stop everyone. Moreover, Ancient Soul Hall's true goal was the Ancient God Seal. They would naturally think of a way to break through the Chief Elder's defenses. How's the situation? Xian Wuheng asked directly. Everyone was stunned. They hadn't sensed anything, but Xian Wuheng trusted Zhao Feng completely and asked directly. 1 rank 9 Ancient God and 2 rank 8s. Zhao Feng used his own observations to determine the other party's cultivation. These 3 members of Ancient Soul Hall quickly entered the range of their senses. That's true. Ancient God Resplendence found this somewhat hard to believe. Could Zhao Feng's divine sense be stronger than theirs? There are only 3 of us. Even if they catch up, they won't be able to do anything to us. Ancient God Chung Yuan breathed a sigh of relief. If it was a large army chasing them, perhaps even a half-step God Lord or a God Lord, then the only thing that awaited them was death. No, they probably don't intend to fight us. Zhao Feng suddenly spoke. Ancient God Chung Yuan and the others were confused for a moment, and then they understood. They won't be a match for us in a fight. I'm afraid their goal is to follow us. Ancient God Resplendence expression darkened. As long as those 3 didn't lose track of them, Ancient Soul Hall would be able to send reinforcements. At that time, the giant god race would find it difficult to escape. Damn it, it's actually like this. Ancient God Sundermount was furious. The Ancient Soul Hall trio maintained a certain distance from them, neither following nor falling behind. It was extremely difficult for them to shake off the other party completely. But if they fought back, the giant god race would definitely not accept the challenge. If they focused on dodging, the giant god race would not be able to do anything to them. Moreover, if they chose to counterattack and did not end things quickly, they would be delaying the giant god race and placing them in an even more dangerous situation. For a moment, the 4 members of the giant god race, including Zhao Feng, all turned grim. I have an idea. In the depressing atmosphere, Zhao Feng suddenly spoke. The 4 members of the giant god race were pleasantly surprised. What is it? Xian Wuheng immediately asked. The situation was so urgent that even he could do nothing about it. I'll stay, you guys go first, 400,000 kilometers away. Haha. As long as we don't lose track of them, once Ancient Soul Hall sends reinforcements, we can wipe them out in one fell swoop and take back the Ancient God Seal. The leading black-robed elder of the Ancient Soul race sneered. Their goal was the Ancient God Seal. Compared to the Ancient God Seal, killing the members of the giant god race was not that important. Elder, just what is the Ancient God Seal in the hands of the giant god race? To actually make Ancient Soul Hall go through so much trouble? A red-skinned man asked. He was not a member of the Ancient Soul race and did not know many things. A long time ago, Ancient Soul Hall was jointly ruled by the Ancient Soul race and the giant god race. The reason the Ancient Soul race turned on each other and murdered the giant god race was because of the Ancient God Seal. The black-robed old man said with a smile, "What is the secret of the Ancient God Seal?" The red-skinned man listened attentively and asked, "What secrets did the Ancient God Seal hide to make the 2 races turn against each other?" This Ancient God Seal can open the giant god race's ancestral legacy treasury. Did you know that it was precisely because of this ancestral legacy treasury that the giant god race was able to produce 2 god lords in just several thousand years? The other two, rank 8 ancient gods, were flabbergasted by these words. Apart from god kings, god lords were the absolute experts of the ancient, desolate realm of gods. This is too powerful. I must get it. The two rank 8 ancient gods immediately revealed looks of greed. It's rumored that the ancestral legacy treasury doesn't just contain the secret to becoming a god lord. It might also involve the mythical races ranked in the top 10 of the 10,000 ancient races. The black-robed old man said softly, one of the top 10 ancient races. The other two ancient gods felt their hearts tremble. Even a race as powerful as the giant god race was only ranked 15th, and the top 10 were all forbidden races that had almost gone extinct in the ancient, desolate realm of gods. For example, the 7th-ranked light race, the 8th-ranked golden crow race, and the 9th-ranked destruction dragon race were all forbidden existences of legends. And this ancient treasury was actually connected to one of the top 10 ancient races. Elder, the situation has changed. The red-skinned man paused. What's going on? That kid stayed behind to stop us in order to protect the giant god race? The other rank 8 ancient god couldn't help but smile. Through their divine senses, they could sense that Zhao Feng had suddenly stopped while the others swiftly teleported away. Their divine senses could sense that there was no change in the soul auras of the fleeing people. This meant that this was not a trick. Xian Wuheng's group had truly left. Kill him as quickly as possible. We can't lose him. The black-robed elder's eyes flashed with cold light. Swish, swish, swish. A moment later, the three of them used instant movement to get close to Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng, I truly admire your righteousness. You're actually willing to sacrifice your life for the giant god race, but there's no point in you trying to stop us. The black-robed elder roared, powerful ripples of soul energy erupting from his body. Relax. Once you die, they'll quickly come to keep you company. The red-skinned man wickedly chuckled. 2 rank 8 ancient gods and 1 rank 9 ancient god immediately attacked, intending to instantly kill Zhao Feng. But Zhao Feng stood his ground, his expression unperturbed. Did none of you see that this is a trap? Zhao Feng faintly smiled. Oh no, the black-robed elder's expression darkened. Although he still hadn't sensed anything strange, Zhao Feng's words made him feel even more ill at ease. But Zhao Feng's words might just be delaying for time. No matter what, he had to kill him first. Soul Destruction Wave. The black-robed elder circulated his soul energy and prepared to unleash a powerful soul attack. Come out. Zhao Feng's left eye immediately began to turn. Be easy. Swoosh. 4 vortexes of eye intent suddenly appeared in front of him, revealing 4 figures. This is a spatial technique. The black-robed elder immediately understood. It turned out that when Zhao Feng had placed a mark on the 4 members of the giant god race, they had only escaped the range of the ancient soul hall members' divine senses, but not completely escaped. Now that ancient soul hall was approaching, Zhao Feng used the mark to use spatial movement to instantly teleport the 4 members of the giant god race. Ancient soul hall die. The moment ancient god resplendence appeared, she circulated her bloodline power and punched. Although her body had not grown larger, the image of an enormous arm appeared around her fist, suffused with immense power. Giant God Finger. Xian Wuheng activated his bloodline power, gathered the energy of the world, and thrust out a finger. Around that plain finger light, a giant shadow of a finger suddenly appeared. It gathered the power of Earth Upanishad between heaven and earth. It was like a pillar that could hold up the sky as it shot out. Even before this finger descended, the members of Ancient Soul Hall were already under immense pressure. The blood in the bodies of the 2 rank 8 ancient gods froze, and they couldn't even move or flee. The black-robed elders stared in shock at this sight. The majority of the giant god race members didn't have very terrifying fighting power, but the true members of the giant god race with a thick bloodline possessed destructive power. For example, the current Xian Wuheng made him not even have any thoughts of fighting back. Ancient soul body change. The black-robed elder stopped his soul attack and used a different secret art. A moment later, his body turned pitch black and transparent, as if he had completely become a soul body. Ancient god attacks could penetrate the soul, so soul bodies were immune to the majority of cold. However, the ancient soul race possessed extremely formidable soul defenses. When using the secret art, they could normally block a fatal blow from an expert a minor level higher than them. Boom! Bang! Crash! At this moment, the attacks of the giant god race exploded forward. A bunch of clowns. Ancient god Cheng Yun coldly snorted. In a direct clash, the three members of Ancient Soul Hall were instantly killed. At this moment, whoosh! In the explosion, a weak black light quickly leaped out. Not good. That rank 9 Ancient God used a secret art to escape. Ancient God Sundermount called out in alarm. In soul form, one speed was several times that of an ordinary Ancient God, making it extremely difficult to catch up. Suddenly, an eye intent flashed past. Kakrak, the black-robed elder, who had just fled more than 100,000 li away, was struck by a ball of tribulation lightning flame. The elder's soul had been severely injured after escaping from the attacks of the giant god race, and now he was struck by Zhao Feng's tribulation lightning eye flame. After struggling for a few moments, the elder was dead. Dead. Ancient god Qingyan was shocked. The others couldn't help but look at Zhao Feng. He was naturally the one who had unleashed that eye bloodline technique. But even though it was clearly an instantaneous eye bloodline technique, Zhao Feng seemed to have seen through it from the very start. He knew the black-robed elder's path of escape, and his eye bloodline technique was so precise that it instantly killed the weakened elder. Let's go. Xi and Wuheng called out. Every second they wasted here was paid for with the lives of the other members of the giant god race. Swish, swish, swish. The group hurriedly used instant movement to flee. A day later, the group stopped in a desolate and sparse area of Yuanqi. What's the situation? Xi and Wuheng looked at Zhao Feng. I didn't find anything. We should be safe. Zhao Feng said. Lord Wuheng, what should we do next? Ancient God Sundermount immediately asked. Open the ancestral legacy treasury. All of you come with me. Xi and Wuheng solemnly said. The others immediately trembled. They had only ever heard about the ancestral legacy treasury controlled by the giant god race, but they had never seen it for themselves. We must obtain enormous benefits from the ancestral legacy treasury so that the giant god race can rise again. Ancient God Cheng Yun patted his chest and said. The group traveled underground and laid down a concealment array. Swish! Xi and Wuheng took out the ancient god seal and prepared to open the ancestral legacy treasury. Chapter 1360. In the underground dimension, Xi and Wuheng quickly laid down a secret Heaven's Legacy array. The ancient god seal was clearly connected to the Heaven's Legacy race. In order to use the ancient god seal to open the ancestral legacy treasury, one needed to have some understanding of the Heaven's Legacy race's culture and arts. The ancient god experts of the giant god race all knew that the giant god race's legacy contained many of the Heaven's Legacy race's culture and arts. Only those with a certain status would have the right to comprehend them. But very few people knew that this part of the Heaven's Legacy race's legacy existed precisely to open the ancestral legacy treasury. Once the array was complete, Xi and Wuheng formed a series of seals with his hands. Countless dark green, tadpole-like characters of various sizes surged into the array. Buzz. BZZ. In a flash, a profound and cryptic array that normal people would find difficult to understand took form. Go! Xi and Wuheng threw the ancient god seal into the center of the array. A moment later, countless green runes surged out of the array and connected to the ancient god seal. Suddenly, the ancient god seal fiercely trembled, and the green runes on it began to shine with a crystalline luster. Cling-clang. Under Xi and Wuheng's control, the ancient god seal extended and began to transform. It didn't take long before a black metal door was constructed. Whoosh! A vertical slit appeared in the center of the door, from which shot out a mysterious and ancient light. Gradually, the door opened, and the dazzling light engulfed everyone. As he was engulfed by this mysterious light, Zhao Feng realized that his divine sense and senses were greatly suppressed. At the same time, he realized that his every movement seemed to be much slower than normal. Profound of time, Zhao Feng was startled. Just the light emitted from the passageway already possessed such profound time mysteries. It seemed like the ancestral legacy treasury was extraordinary. Ancient God Cheng Yun, ancient God Resplendence, and the others also sensed this profound time intent. Go in, Xi and Wuheng shouted in a low voice. Everyone was already impatient, and they directly rushed in. After a moment of confusion, Zhao Feng's body suddenly sank, and he appeared in the air above a patch of grass. At the same time, an ancient primordial aura surged toward him. One didn't even need to think to know that this was an extremely ancient dimension. Xi and Wuheng and the others were standing next to Zhao Feng. Everyone's first reaction was to observe their surroundings. After all, no one knew anything about the ancestral legacy treasury. Even Xi and Wuheng was entering it for the first time. Zhao Feng was slightly surprised. After trying out, he found that this place suppressed his divine sense and other senses to a tenth of its original level. Originally, as an ancient god, he could control everything within 2 to 300,000 li with a sweep of his divine sense. But now, the range of his divine sense was only about 30,000 miles. Looking at the expressions of the others, they seemed to be bewildered by this powerful suppression. However, even if Zhao Feng's vision was restricted, his vision was still far beyond that of an ordinary person. He also discovered that if he fully activated his X-ray vision, his vision would be enhanced. That's not all the restrictions of this place. Xi and Wuheng suddenly spoke. As soon as these words came out, everyone noticed that something was amiss. The speed of Xi and Wuheng's words was slower than usual. Profound a time, Zhao Feng also felt it. After all, his time profundity had reached the peak of the 4th level. How could this be? Ancient God Sundermount was in disbelief. At this moment, everyone was speaking a little slower than usual. Let's not worry about that for now. Finding the treasury is more important. Xi and Wuheng straightforwardly said. When he inherited the ancient God Seal, the giant God Race God Lord had said that the ancestral legacy treasury was filled with treasures, opportunities, and dangers. The giant God Race had once constructed a private treasury in a certain location, storing the precious resources accumulated by the giant God Race. Swish! Xi and Wuheng took out the ancient God Seal. Through the ancient God Seal, he could sense the rough location of the giant God Race's treasury. With a direction in mind, the group proceeded forward while observing this isolated dimension. Look over there. Ancient God Cheng Yun called out in alarm as he pointed to the left. That place happened to be within the range of their divine senses. It was a small puddle, and the one closest to the group had a few faint white flowers growing in it. They were shrouded in a faint luster and were extremely eye-catching. It's just an ordinary time origin flower. What's there to make such a fuss about? Ancient God Sundermount growled. Time intent was extremely powerful and difficult to grasp, and the cultivation resources related to it were also extremely precious. Time origin flowers were a rather common and low-level time cultivation resource. The vast majority of low-level true gods would purchase a few time origin flowers and attempt to comprehend time intent. If it was too difficult to grasp, they would simply give up. If they could comprehend something, it meant that they had the talent to cultivate time intent. It seems to me that when you were a true god, you didn't attempt to cultivate time intent. Ancient God Cheng Yun faintly smiled. Ancient God Sundermount's face froze. He felt that time intent was too difficult and that it didn't increase his offensive power, so he never thought about cultivating it. Zhao Feng was also listening. When he first broke into rank 7, he didn't have the experience that low-level true gods had. Time origin flowers aren't that precious, mainly because of their powerful vitality. After a long period of time, they will slowly gain the energy of time intent and one petal means that they have lived for 100 million years. Ancient God Resplendence took in a deep breath as she stared in shock into the distance. Zhao Feng's eyes focused. The vast majority of these time origin flowers had more than 6 petals, and one of them even had 12. 120 million years. Zhao Feng muttered in shock. This was the first time he had seen such a precious cultivation material from such a long time ago. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A moment later, everyone began to fly toward the puddle. Although the time origin flower was a low-level cultivation resource, once it was more than 1 billion years old, even the most ordinary of resources would become precious. Once they finished dividing up the time origin flowers, they realized that the nearby puddle had a few other resources. These resources were of various types, but they weren't very precious to ancient gods. Crucially, however, they were all extremely old. This truly is a treasury. Ancient god Cheng Yun sighed in amazement as he flew forward. Wait a moment, Xian Wuheng suddenly said. When inheriting the ancient god seal, the elders of the giant god race had said that the ancestral legacy treasury was filled with opportunities, but it was also fraught with danger. They had only discovered a few time origin flowers, so he didn't think too much about it. However, there were many resources up ahead. This place could already be considered a small land of opportunity, so danger was definitely present. Everyone's divine sense was suppressed to 1/10 of its original level, and if there was an object in the way, it would be even lower. Thus, it was best to be careful. Broom. At this moment, everyone felt the earth lightly tremble. A Yao god resembling a serpent dragon suddenly emerged from the ground in front of ancient god Chongyun. This Yao god's body was glossy and silvery white, and its white eyes stared at the group with cold light. The moment this Yao god appeared, everyone sensed its majestic aura fusing with the invisible pressure of the world, making them feel extremely oppressive. Just a peak rank 8 actually dares to make me feel fear. Ancient god Cheng Yun stared in shock at this Yao god. You disturbed my rest, and even touched something on my territory. Today, I'll make you fertilizer for this land. The serpent dragon Yao god roared as its body twisted and charged forward. Swish! In a flash of silver light, the serpent dragon Yao god closed in on ancient god Chongyun. It opened its mouth, exuding powerful ripples of divine power. So fast, ancient god Chongyun grimaced and immediately retreated. But he discovered that he was being hindered by powerful time intent, making his speed at least twice as slow. Thuish! Xian Wuheng activated his bloodline power and charged forward. The powerful bloodline of the giant god race greatly weakened the effects of the time intent on him. Flame Wind Palm. Xian Wuheng circulated his divine power and unleashed a wondrous intent that absorbed the wind and fire energy of the world and fused it into his attack. Kaboom! An enormous palm of wind and fire howled forward. The Flame Wind Palm was originally a swift and explosive attack, but in this place, it was much slower. Paltry tricks. The serpent dragon Yao god twisted its body, exuding a profound time intent that began to spread through the area. Xian Wuheng's attack was immediately hindered by time intent, causing it to become even slower. The serpent dragon, Yao god, slightly moved to avoid the attack. For a moment, everyone, including Xian Wuheng, was speechless. This Yao god has at least level 7 time intent. Zhao Feng sighed in amazement. Although time intent could not amplify the power of divine power attacks, there had to be a reason why it was considered one of the strongest intents. With Xian Wuheng's strength, an ordinary rank 9 ancient god wouldn't be able to last more than a few blows against him. But this peak rank 8 Yao god was able to contend with him. Boom! Bang! Ancient god Chongyun was forced back several li by the peak rank 8 Yao god. But as someone with the giant god race bloodline, his defense was extremely formidable. In addition, he discovered that although this Yao god had a mighty momentum and powerful time intent that surprised everyone, Its divine power attack was only close to that of a rank 9 ancient god, which wasn't too ridiculous. Together, ancient god resplendence called out. The group of 5 worked together to deal with the serpent dragon Yao god. After fighting for a while, the serpent dragon Yao god discovered that these humans possessed extraordinary strength. Not even its time intent was enough to deal with them. Zhao Feng also tried to use eye bloodline techniques to attack, but he discovered that this Yao god's soul intent was extremely tenacious and extremely resistant to soul attacks. You detestable race. The serpent dragon Yao god was grievously injured and wanted to flee. Where do you think you're going? Ancient god resplendence bellowed as she took out a binding divine artifact. The 5 of them were attacking a rank 8 Yao god. If they allowed it to escape, they would have no face left. In the end, the 5 of them used some of their true abilities to swiftly kill the serpent dragon Yao god. After dissecting it, they discovered that the Yao god's entire body was filled with treasures. For example, the water spirit serpent spine contained the power of water and time power Upanishad. It was the best material to refine binding divine weapons. At the same time, the water spear heart vein could increase one's life level, strengthen the crystal veins of the god body, and heal the hidden injuries. It was also a precious material to cultivate time power Upanishad. After dissecting it, they discovered that the Yao god had lived for more than 1 billion years, and it was precisely because of its age that the materials on its body were so valuable. No wonder it's so powerful and difficult to deal with. Zhao Feng said in surprise. Even the least talented cultivator would be able to sweep through their peers if they could remain at the same cultivation level for 1 billion years. It seemed like this ancestral legacy treasury was truly unusual. Chapter 1361. The Chixing Zone. The battle between ancient Soul Hall and the giant god race had completely destroyed this region. The battle did not last long before the giant god race hastily retreated. Ancient Soul Hall was also busy searching for Xian Wuheng and the ancient god seal, so they did not continue to fight. In the black palaces high in the sky, the atmosphere was extremely oppressive. Lord Gloomhaven, we haven't found any trace of Xian Wuheng's group. A member of ancient Soul Hall kneeled on the ground, his body trembling. A bunch of useless fools. God Lord Gloomhaven immediately bellowed from the highest part of the hall. When the giant god race had disregarded everything to stop them, they had used all their strength to break through a gap and send out 3 ancient gods. They had also warned them to just follow Xian Wuheng's group. But not only could they not complete such a simple mission, they had even lost their lives. The upper echelon members of Ancient Soul Hall had ugly and gloomy expressions. They had waited for the right moment to launch a sneak attack, but Xian Wuheng had still managed to escape with the ancient god seal. If the giant god race really did open the ancestral legacy treasury and obtain some great fortune, they might instantly grow stronger. At that time, Ancient Soul Hall would be in grave danger. God Lord Gloomhaven, why are you so angry? Right at this moment, a relaxed and aged voice suddenly resounded in the hall. Everyone in the hall grimaced. For someone to dare to act so happy in front of God, Lord Gloomhaven at a time like this was truly reckless. Swish! An old man and a young man suddenly appeared in the hall. The old man was tall and muscular, his entire body covered in ancient runes. His white beard trailed to the ground, and he held a silver wooden staff in his hand. His eyes were as deep as the starry sky as he stared at God, Lord Gloomhaven. The young man next to the old man had a similar appearance to the old man, but he was extremely handsome and refined. Who is it? The upper echelon members in the hall grimaced. The palaces they were in were protected by an array, and the conference hall was also protected by an array. But this old man and young man had entered this place as if there was no one around. What shocked them even more was that they still didn't know how the 2 of them had entered this place. God Lord Stellar Aspect, you finally come. God Lord Gloomhaven suddenly calmed down and looked at the old man. God Lord. Now that God Lord Gloomhaven had spoken, everyone knew that this newcomer was not an enemy, but the identity of this elder startled them. As you expected, we did not find the ancient god seal. God Lord Gloomhaven added. When ancient Soul Hall was preparing to attack the giant god race, God Lord Stellar Aspect told him that he would not be able to obtain the ancient god seal. God Lord Gloomhaven was furious at the time. Ancient Soul Hall was so powerful that it could not deal with the remnants of the giant god race. Thus, he made up his mind to seize the ancient god seal. But in the end, it still failed. What? This god lord already predicted this. The hearts of the people in the seats trembled once more, and they could not calm down for a long time. Everyone looked at the old man and the young man with extreme solemnity, but they realized that they could not see through them. It was as if the other party was a divine master, but they had not noticed it before. I was delayed by some matters. Have you finished what I asked you to do? God Lord Stellar Aspect smiled. Everything is ready. Please. God Lord Gloomhaven immediately stood up. The giant god race had probably already opened the ancestral legacy treasury, so Ancient Soul Hall could only rely on God Lord Stellar Aspect to salvage the situation. Afterward, the two god lords and all the experts in the hall moved to a secret location. This was an isolated dimension with a massive stone platform. On the stone platform was an array formed of gold and silver light. Above the array was a hazy diagram of light that looked like a starry sky. When the giant god race opened the ancestral legacy treasury, we followed your orders and determined the rough location of the ancestral legacy treasury. God Lord Gloomhaven wickedly smiled. The ancestral legacy treasury was an isolated dimension. Its movements were erratic, and it could drift to any part of the fan universe. When the giant god race opened the ancestral legacy treasury, they used special methods to determine the approximate location of the treasury. Does Sir really have a way to open the ancestral legacy treasury again? God Lord Gloomhaven probed. He had once been a member of Ancient Soul Hall, so he had some understanding of the ancestral legacy treasury. Not only did the treasury move erratically, it could only be opened through the ancient god seal. Open the ancestral legacy treasury again. The many experts of Ancient Soul Hall stared in shock at the old man and the young man. Although that dimension can only be opened through the ancient god seal, that dimension has existed for countless years. Coupled with the fact that there is no one controlling it, the dimension itself should have many holes. God Lord Stellar Aspect calmly said. From these words, everyone knew that he was confident in opening the ancestral legacy treasury again. In terms of understanding of that dimension, not even the giant god race ancestor who obtained the ancient god seal can compare to this old man, so you could be at ease. God Lord Stellar Aspect gave a confident smile. God Lord Stellar Aspect must be joking. How could the giant god race compare to Sir? God Lord Gloomhaven heartily laughed. The other ancient god experts became more and more shocked as they listened to the conversation between the two god lords. Just who was this God Lord Stellar Aspect that had suddenly appeared? God Lord Gloomhaven treated him with such respect, and he was even able to establish a path to the ancestral legacy treasury. He even claimed that his understanding of the ancestral legacy treasury far surpassed that of the giant god race. Swish! God Lord Stellar Aspect took out an enormous octagonal metal platform. A secret heaven's legacy array had been laid down on it. 108 small holes had been set up around the array, and extremely rare stones and treasures were embedded within them. In the center of the array was a sparkling white ball of light. The ripples of divine power it exuded caused everyone to involuntarily raise their eyebrows. This is a supreme quality god crystal. There's no need for me to elaborate on the wealth and resources required to lay down this array. If Ancient Soul Hall does not follow my orders in this operation, they will bear the consequences. God Lord Stellar Aspect's expression suddenly turned cold. Supreme quality god crystal. God Lord Gloomhaven's eyes froze. In the ancient desolate realm of gods, just like the top 10 ancient races, supreme quality god crystals were almost extinct. They were extremely rare and priceless treasures. The supreme quality god crystal in the center of the array seemed rather damaged, but its value was still immeasurable. God Lord Stellar Aspect's final words of bear the consequences did not make him angry. On the contrary, they made him extremely solemn. Now, this array can send around 10 experts below the God Lord level into it. God Lord Stellar Aspect indifferently said. The moment he finished speaking, God Lord Gloomhaven immediately began to select members. All the upper echelon members began to fight over the spots. The Ancestral Legacy Treasury was rumored to contain the secret to becoming a God Lord. 4 ancient God experts, their greatest wish was to become a God Lord. No matter how dangerous it was, they were willing to try. First, God Lord Gloomhaven chose the only 3 half-step God Lords of Ancient Soul Hall. Next were rank 9 ancient gods and peak rank 8 ancient gods. My disciple will be the commander of this operation. God Lord Stellar Aspect suddenly said. Everyone turned to look. Although God Lord Stellar Aspect disciple was young, he was also a rank 9 ancient god. God Lord Gloomhaven immediately removed 1 person. In the end, the 10-man team was smoothly formed. Yuhong, let's go. God Lord Stellar Aspect called out. Within the Ancestral Legacy Treasury, Zhao Feng's group carefully advanced. They had already been in the Ancestral Legacy Treasury for a month now. Because of the suppression of the Profound of Time, everyone's speed was relatively slow. Moreover, this place also suppressed magical abilities such as spatial teleportation. Moreover, this place was fraught with danger, so they didn't dare to recklessly use instant movement. Thus, they hadn't traveled very far in 1 month. This ancient god seal can only sense the direction. I don't know how far it is. Xian Wuhing sighed. After traveling for a month, they still hadn't found the treasury left behind by the giant god race. Look up ahead. Ancient God Resplendence suddenly said. In the distance was a massive black mountain, shrouded in a thick black fog. As they approached, Zhao Feng noticed that there were a few extremely old, low-level resources growing on the edge of the Black Mountain. This mountain is in the same direction as the ancient god seal. Could the treasury left behind by the giant god race be up there? Ancient God, Cheng Yun whispered. The group couldn't help but approach the Black Mountain. The closer they got, the more they realized that the quality of the resources growing around them was increasing. There were even times when 1 or 2 resources that even rank 8 ancient gods would covet would appear. But this time they did not recklessly move. This place was clearly a treasure ground, and it was assuredly accompanied by danger. Meow. At this moment, the little thieving cat suddenly leapt out and gestured at Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng looked forward and activated his see-through ability, allowing him to see even further than his divine sense could. Let's go. Zhao Feng suddenly called out. What's going on? Xian Wuhing asked. A horde of Yao gods. There's a horde of Yao beasts occupying this black mountain. Zhao Feng immediately said. These words instantly made everyone's scalps go numb. The Yao gods of this place were far stronger than those of the outside world because of time intent. In the past month, they had encountered quite a few Yao gods, almost all of whom had high-level time intent and were extremely difficult to deal with. And now, they were actually approaching a horde of Yao gods. Let's go. Without another word, the group began to flee. Time intent was simply too powerful. If they were targeted by a horde of Yao beasts, they would find it very difficult to escape. This mountain is too dangerous. I hope that the treasury isn't up there. Xian Wuhing took in a deep breath as he circled around the Black Mountain and continued forward. The more they experienced, the more they feared the Ancestral Legacy Treasury. Even as ancient gods, if they weren't careful, they could lose their lives here. After circling around the Black Mountain, the ancient god seal still pointed them in the same direction. The group rejoiced and continued forward. Suddenly, the white halo of light on the ancient god seal intensified. We're almost there. The giant god race treasury. Xian Wuheng excitedly said. Although the Ancestral Legacy Treasury was filled with treasures, it was far too dangerous. As for the giant god race, the treasury that the giant god race had left here posed no danger to them. Soon, a huge dark yellow castle appeared in front of everyone. The giant god race treasury. Ancient god Resplendence rejoiced. She hadn't expected for the giant god race treasury to be not far from the Black Mountain. As long as they could obtain everything in the treasury, their mission would be basically complete, and they would be able to account to the other members of their race. Something's not right, Zhao Feng suddenly said. Through the observation of his left eye, he could see many unique marks around the treasury built by the giant god race, as well as remnants of various auras. As they got closer, Zhao Feng was able to clearly see what was going on, and he grimaced. The giant god race treasury seems to have been occupied by a horde of Yao gods. Zhao Feng revealed a piece of news that struck the giant god race like a bolt of lightning. Chapter 1362. Within the group of black palaces in the sky. Success. God Lord Gloomhaven couldn't help but rejoice. Earlier, he had been worried that there might be a problem with the teleportation array, so he had suggested using Yao Beast to test it out. However, God Lord Stellar Aspect's disciple had been the first to enter the array, eliminating all of his doubts and misgivings. After all, God Lord Stellar Aspect would not play around with the life of his disciple. Moreover, each teleportation consumed an enormous amount of energy. After 10 people were successfully teleported, even the teleportation array was damaged. Once my disciple enters, he will lay down a sensing array to increase the speed of the teleportation array and reduce the consumption. But this teleportation array's energy is almost completely used up, and it has also been damaged. It's best not to teleport a second time, God Lord Stellar Aspect calmly said. Xi and Wuheng had only managed to escape with 4 people, and none of them had reached rank 9. Logically speaking, Ancient Soul Hall's team should have been able to crush them. At the same time, God Lord Stellar Aspect fell into deep thought. During the teleportation, just now, he suddenly sensed a profound destiny law interfering. There really weren't many people in the ancient, desolate realm of gods who were more skilled in the destiny Tao than him. Could it be from that faction? God Lord Stellar Aspect's eyes became even more profound. In fact, as soon as he arrived, he felt an invisible force of fate interfering with him, which was why he arrived much later than he had expected. The surrounding people were all sighing in shock at God Lord Stellar Aspect's astonishing methods. Ancient Soul Hall was only responsible for the location of the Ancestral Legacy Treasury, but God Lord Stellar Aspect was able to use this to quickly find a loophole and establish a teleportation channel. Within the Ancestral Legacy Treasury, Yu Heng and the Ancient Soul Hall group landed in the air above a swamp forest. This is the giant god race's Ancestral Legacy Treasury? What a powerful suppression! At the start, none of them were used to this and could only sigh in amazement. Only God Lord Stellar Aspect's disciple, Yu Heng, suddenly revealed a faint smile. We'll split into 3 groups. Our goal is to find the ancient god seal, Yu Heng said. In reality, this space was extremely vast. It couldn't be called a treasure vault at all. Coupled with the space-time suppression, it was not easy to find a single person. The 3 half-step god lords had rather nasty expressions. They had come here to seek the secret of becoming a god lord. But now, they had to obey a rank 9 ancient god. But they had also seen the person behind Yu Heng. Not only was God Lord Stellar Aspect incredibly powerful, even God Lord Gloomhaven maintained a sliver of respect for him. In the end, the 10 members of Ancient Soul Hall successfully divided into 3 teams. Each team was led by a half-step god lord. This is the map of this place, but the actual situation might be very different from a map. After all, too much time has passed. Yu Heng took out a huge map. The map was very simple. It only had a rough outline of the terrain, and some particularly dangerous areas were marked. At a glance, the crowd discovered that there were more than 40 to 50 danger signs on the map. However, what was even more shocking was that Yu Heng actually had a map of this place. Meanwhile, the giant god race members were slowly approaching the giant god race treasury. Other than Zhao Feng, the others gradually sensed signs that Zhao Feng was right. This place was indeed occupied by demon immortals. How could this be? It's been occupied by demonic beasts. Ancient god resplendence appeared rather dispirited. Too much time has passed. The defensive array of the giant god race's treasury has gradually weakened, and the Yao beast have broken through and occupied it. Xi and Wuheng sighed. The occupation of the giant god race's treasury was truly a massive blow to their morale. If they could obtain all the resources inside, the giant god race would be able to quickly rise to power. But at this time, according to Zhao Feng's description, there were more than 20 Yao gods. As for rank 9 Yao gods, based on his observations, there were around 2, and the leader was far stronger than an ordinary rank 9. Even if they worked together and used all their trump cards, they might still lose their lives against such a terrifying Yao god horde. Moreover, the Yao gods of this place were skilled in space-time intent. Once they decided to force their way in, there would be no path of retreat. If that's the case, we can only go elsewhere and gather resources. Xi and Wuheng immediately began to think of a solution. Although this place was rich in precious resources, gathering resources from all over the place was definitely not as good as directly taking the resources from the giant god race treasury. Moreover, the resources here were mostly inclined towards space-time intent. The giant god race needed resources that could quickly increase their strength. In addition, gathering resources from all over the place would mean facing many unknown dangers. It's not like there's no way. At this moment, Zhao Feng's voice rang out. Everyone's bodies trembled as they looked at Zhao Feng. With our strength, trying to force our way into the giant god race treasury truly is like trying to smash an egg against a rock. But we can borrow the strength of other forces. Zhao Feng voiced his thoughts. Ancient god Cheng Yun immediately rolled his eyes. You've seen for yourself just how much the Yao gods of this place hate outsiders. How could they possibly help us? You're too stupid. Don't you know how to sow discord and borrow a knife to kill others? Zhao Feng faintly smiled, a hint of disdain in his voice. Ancient god Cheng Yun's face instantly froze. As for the others, they finally understood what Zhao Feng meant. That black mountain from before just so happened to have Yao beast horde. Xi and Wuheng noticed Zhao Feng's plan. You're saying that we can use the strength of another Yao god horde to hold down the Yao god horde in the treasury, and then we can use this chance to sneak into the treasury and steal the resources. Ancient god Resplendence was alarmed. Although the plan was excellent, if there was a single mistake, they would have to face the combined assault of 2 powerful Yao beast hordes, which would undoubtedly result in certain death. Zhao Feng, you should have a plan, right? Xi and Wuheng guessed. Based on his understanding, Zhao Feng rarely did anything that he wasn't confident in. Little thieving cat, it's your turn, Zhao Feng said to the silver-gray cat on his shoulder. Just what kind of cat is this? Xi and Wuheng muttered in shock. Back in the Continent Zone, this little thieving cat had accompanied Zhao Feng. He couldn't see through the little thieving cat back then. And it was even more so now. Meow. The little thieving cat reluctantly agreed, and then it began to act like it was about to take on a heavy responsibility. Dooish. The little thieving cat understood Zhao Feng's plan, and it leaped forward, concealing itself in the void as it slowly approached the giant god race treasury. What a profound spatial movement technique. Ancient god Sundermount sighed in amazement. That cat doesn't seem to be suppressed by this place. Xi and Wuheng noticed this from the little thieving cat's actions. Zhao Feng nodded. The little thieving cat truly was not suppressed by this place, which made him rather envious. Just what sort of secret did this Heaven's Legacy cat hold for it to be so unique? But it was precisely because of this that he had the little thieving cat take action. The first step of the plan was to have the little thieving cat draw out a lone Yao god. Not long after the little thieving cat left, Zhao Feng suddenly began to move, and the others immediately followed. Stop, Wildcat! A savage silver tiger chased after the little thieving cat. The silver tiger was only a rank 8 Yao god skilled in time intent, but it was still being played around by the little thieving cat. Good. The little thieving cat has successfully lured out a lone Yao god. Zhao Feng faintly smiled. When the silver tiger was some distance away from the treasury, Zhao Feng's group suddenly charged out. A human? The silver tiger immediately sensed them and prepared to flee. After all, there were too many of them, and one of them had even reached rank 9. But at this moment, the little thieving cat waved its paws, unleashing a powerful sealing intent that sealed away the silver tiger's power. The silver tiger only had a rank 8 cultivation, so Zhao Feng's group quickly caught up to it. Take control of it, Zhao Feng called out. The giant god race group surrounded the silver tiger and unleashed a barrage of attacks on its soul. Dark Heart Seal. Zhao Feng condensed a seal of lightning in his left eye and imprinted it on the tiger. Good, the first step is complete, Zhao Feng called out. After enslaving this Yao god, Zhao Feng gained a better understanding of the Yao gods in the treasury. Zhao Feng then used this Yao god to easily lure out 2 more Yao gods, one of which was a peak rank 8. Zhao Feng had now enslaved 3 silver tiger Yao gods. Good, let's go provoke another group of Yao gods. Zhao Feng gave a smug smile. An excellent plan. Ancient god Resplendence couldn't help but sigh in amazement. A little while later, Zhao Feng's group arrived near the massive Black Mountain. Zhao Feng controlled the 3 silver tiger Yao gods to charge in and slaughter the Yao gods of the Black Mountain, even uttering bold words of provocation. At first, the Yao gods of the Black Mountain were unmoved. However, after the silver tiger Fey Immortals' repeated provocations, they were finally infuriated. They sent out powerful Fey Immortals to interrogate the Fey Immortals in the treasury. Before this, Zhao Feng had the 3 silver tiger Yao gods return to the giant god race treasury. Boss, that group of Yao from Black Mountain injured us and killed our companions. They also said that they would attack sooner or later, kill a sick tiger like you, and swallow up our territory. Zhao Feng had the 2 silver tiger Yao gods complain to the leader of the Yao gods. Preposterous. The gigantic tiger's body was covered in strange, dark silver stripes, and its eyes flickered with a ferocious light. Before long, the Yao gods of Black Wind Mountain arrived, and the silver tiger Yao god horde killed them. The Yao gods of this place were cruel and bloodthirsty to begin with, and they were easy to provoke. The situation escalated, and in less than a month, the 2 Yao god horde started fighting. Between the treasury and the Black Mountain, the 2 Yao god hordes fought. You say I'm a sick tiger, so let me see how powerful you, fat snake, are. The giant silver tiger roared at the sky and clashed with a huge silver-green python. Both had peak rank 9 cultivation, and their battle was earth-shattering. Their profound time intent made it difficult for others to see their movements, and once they got close, it was like they had entered a world in slow motion, making it difficult for them to move. Let's go, Zhao Feng said in a low voice. Zhao Feng and Xian Wuheng quickly approached the treasury. Xian Wuheng was powerful, while Zhao Feng was skilled in concealment, making it difficult for the Yao gods guarding the treasury to notice them. Ancient God Resplendence and the others left to provide support, while the little thieving cat stayed near the battlefield. Once the Yao gods returned, Zhao Feng would immediately notice them. This way, Xian Wuheng messaged. This was the treasury built by the giant god race, so he was the most familiar with the layout and layout. Zhao Feng used his see-through ability to see through the treasury and realized that the layout of the treasury was identical to the small map inscribed on the ancient god seal. Chapter 1363. Zhao Feng had learned his spatial concealment technique from ancient god Luo Ling of the space-time Sacred Land. It allowed him to hide in space while rapidly advancing without being detected. Xian Wuheng was powerful and had a profound understanding of this place. He could fuse his aura with space, and he was also the person with the greatest understanding of the treasury. Thus, he had to sneak in. After passing through the hall, Xian Wuheng's expression froze. The layout of this place has mostly been altered. The places where the resources and treasures were stored are all empty. Xian Wuheng communicated with Zhao Feng. After all, The silver tiger Yao gods had occupied the giant god race treasury. They couldn't just leave the treasures there, so they must have split them up. The giant god race probably sealed all their resources and treasures here. Zhao Feng's left, I had noticed a few clues about the array and deduced. Because too much time has passed, the sealing array has gradually lost its power, allowing the Yao gods to destroy it and take the treasures inside. But there might still be some places where the sealing array has not been destroyed. Zhao Feng analyzed. You're right. Xian Wuheng was slightly shocked. This was only the outer perimeter of the treasury. There were many more important places where resources were stored. The ones who had laid down the defensive array were god lords of the giant god race. If not for the fact that it had been so long, these Yao gods wouldn't have been able to touch any of the resources or treasures here. There are 2 guards over there. Zhao Feng transmitted what he saw to Xian Wuheng. 2 Yao god groups were fighting, but there were still guards. From this, one could see that there were definitely some secrets inside. That's one of the places where the treasures are stored. Xian Wuheng's eyes flashed. The 2 of them began to approach the guarded secret hall. What do you think the battle outside is going on? One of the dark-skinned silver tigers asked. Is there even a need to ask? We definitely have the upper hand. Ever since we took over the treasury, we've been breaking through the defensive array and obtaining treasures. Our overall strength has been rapidly increasing. The other guard said with a smile. That's true. I wonder who built this treasury for so many treasures to be stored inside. We have to thank them, haha. The dark-skinned silver tiger heartily laughed. Since you want to thank me, use your life to thank me. Xian Wuheng snorted. He suddenly appeared and pointed a finger. That finger light was extremely condensed. It was like a sharp sword that pierced out in an instant. Not good. The silver tiger, demon immortal's expression, changed drastically. His cultivation base was only at the 8th rank, and the moment Xian Wuheng appeared, he felt a sense of life and death crisis. However, Xian Wuheng's attack had been accumulating power for a long time. He had condensed his divine power and bloodline attack to the limit. It was extremely fast and hit instantly. Poof! A bloody hole appeared in the silver tiger, Yao Immortal's head. The hole ran from front to back as blood gushed out. Even if the demon gods here were much stronger than the outside world, an ordinary rank 8 demon god like that could not withstand a single move from Xian Wuheng. How dare you trespass? The other silver tiger revealed a look of fear and was about to contact the other Yao gods. Tribulation, lightning, eye flame. At this moment, a twisting ball of lightning flames exploded in the soul dimension. This tribulation lightning eye flame was one of the stronger attacks that Zhao Feng could unleash with his origin energy sealed. The silver tiger's soul was struck by the powerful tribulation lightning and was unable to send a message. After struggling for only 1 second, its soul perished. The 2 glanced at each other. This was their first time working together since they had met. Although Xian Wuheng was a giant god race expert with an extremely thick bloodline and a far stronger cultivation than Zhao Feng, he had never looked down on Zhao Feng. For example, the soul attack that Zhao Feng had just used was enough to threaten Xian Wuheng. Moreover, Xian Wuheng sensed that Zhao Feng's left eye had not used its full power. Zhao Feng, who had just finished off one of the guards, sighed in amazement at Xian Wuheng's technique. Based on his observations, when a member of the giant god race borrowed too much bloodline energy, they would have to reveal their true bodies. However, Xian Wuheng was able to fuse the majority of his bloodline energy into his attacks without revealing his true body. This ability to control and utilize the giant god race bloodline was not something that other members of the giant god race could compare to. I didn't alarm the other guards. Zhao Feng said as he scanned his surroundings with the god's spiritual eye. Xian Wuheng used a secret art to open a small crack in the door, and the 2 of them entered. The interior of the hall was like an exquisitely decorated room. Flowers, potted plants, and antique books were scattered about. But in reality, every single item here was a precious material or treasure that was renowned in the outside world. For example, the books on the table were all high-level divine rank cultivation techniques. The flower vase next to the books was a top-notch divine rank divine artifact, the myriad spirit celestial vase. It was rumored that this storage divine artifact contained countless independent spaces of various environments. It could store both cold attribute and fire attribute treasures. Good. The majority of the treasures and resources in this room are still intact. Xian Wuheng was pleasantly surprised. He immediately walked up to the table and used a secret art to undo the array. The array here was created by the giant god race's art, and it was fused with a secret art of Heaven's legacy. Only the upper echelon members of the giant god race knew how to undo it. Myriad Spirit Heavenly Vase. A little while later, Xian Wuheng undid the array seal on the Myriad Spirit Heavenly Vase and put it away. Too slow, Zhao Feng was rather anxious. After all, the array here had been laid down by a god lord. Even if Xian Wuheng knew how to undo it, he would still need some time. But there were 50 to 60 objects of various sizes here. If Xian Wuheng had to undo them one by one, he had no idea how long it would take. Whoosh! Zhao Feng walked up to the antique shelf, his left eye enveloping the entire shelf. What are you doing? The array here is a secret art unique to the giant god race. It's also fused with a secret art of Heaven's legacy. Xian Wuheng immediately messaged. If the array here was so easy to undo, the Silver Tiger Yao gods would have long ago plundered all the treasures here. God eye. Disintegration. A dreamy mist flashed through Zhao Feng's left eye, enveloping the entire antique shelf and passing through it tens of thousands of times. In order to reduce the amount of energy he expended, Zhao Feng focused on the array seal. Whoosh! All the array seals in his field of vision were gradually weakening, and the structure of the array was being destroyed. What sort of eye bloodline technique is this? Xian Wuheng paled in fright. How could there be such a miraculous eye bloodline technique in the world that could constantly weaken the power of an array? But Xian Wuheng couldn't care less. He focused on breaking the array and gathering resources. Once he had taken away all the resources outside of the antique shelf, Zhao Feng had also smoothly unraveled all the arrays on the antique shelf. Many thanks, Xian Wuheng said with a smile. The items on the antique shelf were more valuable, mostly divine artifacts and tools. For this reason, the arrays here were also stronger, so he didn't start there. But once he took away all the other items, Zhao Feng had unraveled all the arrays on the antique shelf. This saved Xian Wuheng half the time he needed. After plundering this haul, the two of them left and continued their search. Wind God Finger, Tribulation Lightning Eye Flame. Zhao Feng and Xian Wuheng worked together to kill a rank 8 Yao god. After all, the two races were in a war, and the stronger combatants were fighting. Thus, the guards and patrols were usually ordinary rank 8 Yao gods. Let's take a look at the center of the treasury, Xian Wuheng said after plundering a small chamber. The center of the treasury was the most precious place in the giant god race treasury. There are only two guards. Zhao Feng and Xian Wuheng used the same method as before, each approaching a guard and launching a fatal attack. Thump! The two guards were instantly killed by Zhao Feng and Xian Wuheng's attacks. Okay. Xian Wuheng rejoiced and activated a secret art to open the treasury. However, the moment the treasury opened, the two scanned it with their divine senses and were shocked. In the deepest part of the treasury was a silver-white tiger. It was enormous, and its cultivation had reached peak rank 8. It looked extremely similar to the leader of this group of Yao gods. You're humans? Infiltrators? The silver tiger suddenly stood up and stared at Zhao Feng and Xian Wuheng. In the outside world, the two groups of Yao gods were fighting fiercely. You actually sent people to infiltrate my treasury? The silver tiger's expression suddenly changed, and its eyes turned cold as it stared at the silver-green python in front of it. I didn't do such a thing. You must have offended too many Yao gods, so they used this chance to infiltrate your treasury. The silver-green python laughed. Bullshit. I haven't seen a human in hundreds of millions of years. The silver tiger cursed and prepared to return to the treasury. A human? The silver-green python froze, but seeing that the silver tiger was about to leave, it immediately charged out. Where do you think you're going? The silver-green python immediately unleashed powerful time intent and spat out a dark green mist. Our two factions have been at peace for many years. Do you really want to go to this extent? The silver tiger was furious. It was you who killed my Yao gods first, and now you're provoking me. The silver-green python coldly laughed. Nonsense. It was clearly you who killed my Yao gods first. The two peak rank 9 Yao gods immediately began to argue. Gradually, they began to piece together what had happened. Could it be those humans? I like to see just who would be so bold as to provoke us and even infiltrate your treasury to steal. The two peak rank 9 Yao gods came to an agreement and immediately stopped. Look, that black mountain is filled with treasures. A peak rank 8 ancient god of ancient soul hall called out. The leader of the ancient soul race, half-step god, Lord glanced over and was somewhat tempted. But at this moment, a crystal ball in his hand flashed with azure light. There's activity. The ancient god seal is nearby. Ancient god JLC called out in alarm. This tool had been given to them by Yu Hong. As long as the ancient god seal appeared within a certain range, it would produce a phenomenon. For a moment, the three-man team stood still. Why don't we go to that black mountain and take a look? The peak rank 8 ancient god whispered. Although finding the ancient god seal was their first mission, their movements here were not monitored. Ancient Soul Hall and Godlord Stellar Aspect had no idea what they were up to. No, let's find the ancient god seal first. The ancient Soul Hall Godlords and Godlord Stellar Aspect view the ancient god seal with such importance. If we can find the ancient god seal, we'll be the greatest contributors to this operation. We'll be rewarded handsomely, Ancient God JLC said after some thought. Chapter 1364. When the peak rank 8 Silver Tiger discovered the central treasury, Zhao Feng and the others did not immediately retreat. This was because Zhao Feng could see through the little thieving cat's eyes that the two Yao god groups were still fighting. Thus, Zhao Feng and Xan Wuheng prepared to charge into the treasury, kill the Silver Tiger, and plunder a few things before leaving. However, just as the two were about to attack the peak rank 8 Silver Tiger, they suddenly realized that the Silver Tiger was giving off a soul intent that far surpassed their cultivation. Not good. This Silver Tiger is the clone of the Yao God group's leader. Zhao Feng's god's spiritual. I immediately saw this. At the same time, the little thieving cat told Zhao Feng what was happening on the battlefield. Let's go. The two Yao God groups are coming. Zhao Feng grimaced. As the two retreated, the peak rank 8 Silver Tiger charged out to stop Zhao Feng and Xan Wuheng. This was naturally the will of the Silver Tiger leader. With Xan Wuheng and Zhao Feng's strength, killing the Silver Tiger would be a piece of cake. But now that the two Yao God groups were coming, they did not dare to linger for even a second longer. The moment they left the giant God race treasury, the two of them saw a vast horde of tiger and snake Yao gods in the distance, all of them charging at them. Their leaders were a giant tiger covered in strange dark silver stripes and a silver-green python. Both of them were at the peak of the 9th stage. If it was an ordinary peak rank 9 Yao god, Xan Wuheng wouldn't care at all. However, the Yao gods here were skilled in time intent. In a one-on-one fight, even Xan Wuheng would find it troublesome. Moreover, the other side was a group of Yao gods, each one powerful and numerous. You two thieves, you dare to steal the treasures of my treasury. The giant silver tiger roared towards the sky, its might overflowing. It was you two who provoked our two groups. The silver-green python coldly said. Run, Zhao Feng called out. Given their reaction speed, they should have been able to escape before the two demon god groups arrived. Unfortunately, the peak rank 9 Silver Tiger had left an avatar in the central treasury. Because of the pinnacle rank 9 Yao Immortal's deliberate control, The Silver Tiger's combat strength was even greater, but it still wasn't a match for Zhao Feng and his companion. Stay here. The avatar exploded under the control of the main body, forming a dark silver destructive storm that forced Zhao Feng and Xian Wuheng into the depths of the treasury. Zhao Feng and Xian Wuheng worked together, repeatedly using defensive secret techniques to block the damage from the explosion. Rumble. As soon as they did, the distant demon immortals swarmed toward Zhao Feng and Xian Wuheng. Even Zhao Feng, who had always been calm, felt his heart racing. You can't escape. Xian Wuheng's face darkened. In this place, they were suppressed by the time power Upanishad, and their movement speed was halved. As for these Yao gods, they were born here and did not suffer the suppression. In fact, because of time intent, they moved with incredible speed. They were about to catch up to Zhao Feng and Xian Wuheng. The power of these two Yao god groups was enough to instantly crush the two of them. Zhao Feng, do you have any ideas? Xian Wuheng asked. Up until now, Zhao Feng had always surprised everyone. If not even Zhao Feng could do anything, Xian Wuheng could only use the ancient God Seal's power to leave with Zhao Feng. But the ancient God Seal required 1,000,000 years to open a path. If they left now, they would need to wait another 1,000,000 years before they could enter again. Moreover, the resources they had gathered in the giant god race treasury weren't enough to support the rise of the entire giant god race. 1,000,000 years was far too long, and too many things could happen in that time. What's going on up ahead? The peak rank 8 ancient god of ancient Soul Hall asked in surprise. According to the tool in ancient god Jalsia's hand, the ancient god seal was up ahead, but he sensed that something was wrong, and the air was suffused with the stench of blood. That's a group of Yao gods. Ancient god Jalsia's divine sense was stronger and had a greater range, so he was able to sense what was going on. Could Xian Wuheng's group have been surrounded by a group of Yao gods? Ancient god Jalsi speculated. The crystal ball in his hand told him that the ancient god seal wasn't far from that group of Yao gods. Then what should we do? The other member of the group asked. Let's wait and see. Ancient god Jalsi called out. They were all keenly aware of how powerful the Yao gods of this place were. Even though he was a half-step god lord, he had no chance of winning against this many Yao gods. Ancient god Jalsi was a half-step god lord, so he could sense the Yao god group. The Yao gods were creatures born and raised in this place, so they were not suppressed. Moreover, they were old and had formidable wills, so they could also sense the ancient Soul Hall trio behind them. When the two Yao god groups were less than 100,000 li from Zhao Feng and Xian Wuheng, they suddenly stopped. Humans? The Silver Tiger's eyes were extremely gloomy. How could there be so many humans here? The Silver-Green Python was also surprised. On the other side of the Yao god group, Zhao Feng and Xian Wuheng sensed that there was something strange about the Yao god group. There's someone else? Zhao Feng's expression darkened. When Xian Wuheng opened the path to the ancient god seal, only the 5 of them had entered. But based on what the two Yao god groups were saying, there were apparently other humans nearby. It's not ancient god resplendent's group, Xian Wuheng immediately said after making the connection. This was even more absurd. Could there have been humans in this dimension to begin with? But now is not the time to worry about this. Escaping was more important. Zhao Feng's eyes suddenly brightened, and then he said in pleasant surprise, "Wonderful! Captain's group is here. The treasures of the treasury will be easy to obtain." Xian Wuheng was at first dazed, and then he gave a speechless smile. He didn't know who the other humans nearby were, but they had all fallen into Zhao Feng's trap. What? Captain? The Silver Tiger grimaced. It hadn't expected for these people to have companions. As they pursued Zhao Feng and Xian Wuheng, they were truly far away from the treasury. If they continued to pursue Zhao Feng and Xian Wuheng, the 3 people behind them might use this chance to enter the treasury. Moreover, the strongest of the 3 was a half-step god lord. In a one-on-one fight, not even the peak rank 9 Silver Tiger was a match for him. Let's go. Zhao Feng and Xian Wuheng leisurely flew forward. The Silver Tiger Yao God group was in a dilemma. If they continued to pursue Zhao Feng, the three people behind them would use this chance to enter the treasury. "Help me out, and I'll reward you handsomely," the Silver Tiger said to the Silver-Green Python. "Okay." The Silver-Green Python immediately agreed. In this battle between the two races, there had been many casualties, and all of this had been instigated by the humans, so he was extremely angry and hated the humans. "You guys chase after the two of them," the Silver Tiger immediately ordered. He and the Silver-Green Python took many Yao gods and began to retreat to the rear. Of the remaining 4 Silver Tigers, 1 was a rank 9, 2 were peak rank 8s, and 1 was a rank 8. These 4 Yao gods immediately lunged at Zhao Feng and Xian Wuheng. Okay, Xian Wuheng couldn't help but call out. Compared to the danger from before, these 4 Silver Tigers weren't much. The nearby unknown human is actually so strong that 2 Yao God leaders are working together to deal with him. Zhao Feng was rather alarmed. He was just testing the waters just now. If he succeeded, it would naturally be for the best. But Zhao Feng hadn't expected for it to be so successful. The nearby unknown human had attracted the attention of 90% of the Yao gods. On the other end, ancient god Jalsi, "Something's wrong." The peak rank 8 ancient god suddenly said, "Something truly is wrong." Ancient god Jalsi's expression was extremely gloomy. The 3 of them hadn't done anything at all, so why was the horde of demon immortals suddenly attacking them with such ferocious energy? From the looks of it, they seemed to have formed some sort of blood feud. "Ancient god Jalsi, let's go." The other rank 9 ancient god called out in alarm. "Slow down." Ancient god Jalsi called out. They had missed out on the opportunity on the Black Mountain precisely to kill Xian Wuheng and obtain the ancient god's seal. If they ran now, they would have missed out on this opportunity. "Everyone, we don't seem to have any grudge." Ancient god Jalsi roared. No grudge? You make it sound so easy." The Silver-Green Python coldly laughed. "Nonsense. Crafty human die." The dark Silver Tiger, unable to restrain its rage, transformed into a silver-white streak of light and lunged at ancient god Jalsi. The Silver-Green Python followed closely behind. The 2 of them had to work together to deal with this half-step godlord. These retarded Yao gods. Could they have been fooled by Xian Wuheng's scheme? Ancient god Jalsi had already thought of something. But in the face of such a terrifying number of Yao gods, he could only run. "All of you must have misunderstood something. The 3 of us came to capture the 2 Yus you surrounded just now." Ancient god Jalsi waved his hands, sending 2 black halos at the 2 peak rank 9 Yao gods. "You must die, but they will also die," the Silver Tiger roared. On the other side, the 4 Yao god they had left behind were enough to tear Zhao Feng and Xian Wuheng to pieces. Thus, the most important thing right now was to eliminate these 3 to vent the hatred in their hearts. "Oh, the 4 Yao gods howled as they lunged forward. "Let me," Xian Wuheng called out as he stepped forward, the bloodline in his body madly surging. Boom! A moment later, divine white light illuminated the sky, and Xian Wuheng's body instantly grew to a height of 100,000 feet. After activating his bloodline, Xian Wuheng's defense and strength were both greatly boosted. He was like a steel wall that blocked the 4 Yao gods. Meanwhile, Zhao Feng stood in the rear, using eye bloodline techniques and soul attacks to interfere with the 4 Yao gods. Of course, the 2 did not fight to the death, but instead fought and retreated. "Lord Wuheng, we're here," Ancient God Resplendent's group soon called out. The little thieving cat also followed. There were more helpers? The rank 9 ancient god was both angry and vexed. Although these 2 were of unusual strength, they had the numerical advantage, so victory was still theirs. It was only a matter of time. But now, 3 more ancient gods had appeared, along with a bizarre cat. With their addition, the 4 Silver Tiger Yao gods were immediately at a disadvantage. Don't get caught up in the fight. Escaping is more important, Xian Wuheng said. Although they had the advantage, the silver tiger Yao gods were completely capable of requesting reinforcements. The group worked together to fight and retreat, smoothly escaping the entanglement of the silver tiger Yao gods. After flying for more than half a day, the group tunneled underground to take a break. Lord Wuheng, how did the operation go? Ancient God Cheng Yun excitedly asked. This was the treasury established by the giant god race. The resources and treasures inside were probably enough to support the rise of the giant god race. Chapter 1365. Lord Wuheng, how did the operation go? Ancient God Cheng Yun excitedly asked. This was the treasury established by the giant god race. The resources and treasures inside were probably enough to support the rise of the giant god race. The treasury was occupied by a group of Yao gods, and many of the resources and treasures were dug out long ago. Zhao Feng and I were pressed for time, so we were only able to obtain a portion. Xin Wuheng truthfully reported. The other members of the giant god race were rather disappointed by this. This was the treasury established by the giant god race, but due to the incident at Ancient God Hall, the giant god race could no longer return to this place, resulting in the treasury being occupied by the Yao gods. But that's not important. This ancestral legacy treasury is incredibly vast and filled with opportunities. We can stay here for a little longer and gather resources. Xin Wuheng added. The others naturally agreed with these words. Firstly, they hadn't gained much. Even if they returned to the giant god race, they would find it very difficult to reverse the situation. Secondly, it was naturally better to stay in such a precious and bizarre ancestral legacy treasury for a little longer. Excavating opportunities and increasing their strength was beneficial to the giant god race as a whole. It was rumored that this place contained the secret to becoming a god lord. If they could obtain this opportunity, they might even be able to become god lords. At that time, even if they didn't have many resources, they could still lead the giant god race to overthrow ancient Soul Hall. This place is fraught with danger. Our strength is far from enough. Xin Wuheng took out some of the resources he had seized from the treasury and distributed them to the group. These resources had been left behind by the giant god race in the past, so it was only right and proper for the giant god race to use them. Now, in order to increase their strength, Xin Wuheng was taking them out. Many thanks, Hall Master. Ancient God Resplendence and the others were shocked and delighted as they took the resources. Normally, they would have needed to exchange contribution points for these resources, but this was a special time, so they could enjoy such treatment. Zhao Feng, we need your strength, so you can also be considered a member of Giant God Hall. Xin Wuheng said to Zhao Feng. These resources were far from enough to supply the giant god race. If he were to give them to Zhao Feng, it would inevitably cause the other members of the giant god race to hold a grudge. So he said this. These are for your giant god race. Keep them. I hope that I can have the right to distribute the opportunities one obtain in this place. Zhao Feng rejected Xin Wuheng's gift and stated his own request. After all, it was only because of Xin Wuheng and the giant god race that he had the chance to come here. If he obtained some sort of precious treasure, the giant god race would inevitably set their sights on him and cause conflict between the two sides. Thus, Zhao Feng had refused the giant god race's resources and made this request. All right, I have no opinion on this. Let's see who's capable. Ancient God Cheng Yun immediately said. If he refused, Zhao Feng would be able to wantonly use the resources of the giant god race. Ancient God Cheng Yun did not want to see this. Moreover, the giant god race had many people. Could their treasure-seeking abilities be inferior to Zhao Feng's alone? All right, that's it. Xin Wuheng did not pay much attention to it. Zhao Feng's contribution was indispensable for them to be able to enter the ancestral legacy treasury alive. Furthermore, Zhao Feng and the little thieving cat were indispensable in the exploration of this place, so Zhao Feng's request wasn't unreasonable. Moreover, this dimension was something that the ancestors of the giant god race had inadvertently obtained, not created by the giant god race itself. This place was filled with opportunities, but it was also fraught with danger. If Zhao Feng had the strength, he could take it away. On the other side, the ancient Soul Hall group was being pursued by a group of Yao gods. Don't let them escape, the Silver Tiger roared. He had just received news that Zhao Feng's group had smoothly escaped. If he allowed these humans to escape as well, he would never be able to swallow this anger. You're refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Do you really think that the ancient soul race is easy to bully? Ancient God JLC was infuriated. He didn't want to tangle with the Yao gods for too long, but they were relentlessly pursuing him. He was a mighty half-step god lord, but he was being pursued by 2 peak rank 9 ancient gods. BZZZE. Ancient God JLC immediately activated his bloodline power, and his body transformed into a translucent black soul body. Boom! Plush! The attacks of the Silver Tiger and Silver-Green Python passed right through Ancient God JLC's body without inflicting much damage. The ancient soul race. The Silver-Green Python's expression darkened. In its memories, this race was extremely powerful and skilled in soul attacks. The Dead Sea of Hell. Ancient God JLC's body continued to swell, transforming into a black wave that floated in the sky. Many of the Yao gods with weaker soul intents trembled as they felt an unprecedented pressure weighing down on their souls. Ancient God JLC's supreme technique. By using the special spiritual bodies of the ancient soul race and using a secret bloodline art, he can create a soul sea of hell. Wherever it goes, all souls will fall silent and plunge them into hell. The other 2 couldn't help but sigh in shock. Die! Ancient God JLC roared. The black and silent wave immediately rose several dozen feet into the air, transforming into a massive tsunami that engulfed the Yao gods. The 2 peak rank 9 Yao gods immediately used soul attacks. But Ancient God JLC's soul was so powerful that it took the brunt of their soul attacks and howled forward. In a flash, the 2 peak rank 9 Yao gods were surrounded by the black wave. The other Yao gods nearby were also caught up in the shockwaves. At first, they did their best to fight back, but gradually, their souls began to rapidly weaken, and quite a few rank 8 Yao gods were devoured by Ancient God JLC. Not good. This person's soul techniques are too powerful. The Silver-Green Python used the power of time to fight against the dark seawater. Save me. On the other side, the Silver Tiger, whose speed and agility were slightly inferior to the Python, had already been restrained by Ancient God JLC's soul body. Anyone who could be called a half-step God Lord has at least one intent that has reached level 9. My water intent is extremely powerful. None of you will be able to escape. Ancient God JLC's voice came from the black wave. Besides water intent, his soul attacks were also infused with darkness intent. The 2 worked together to gradually cause a soul to lose consciousness and sink into silence. As long as they could no longer fight back, he could easily refine and devour their souls. However, using this secret art was extremely taxing on Ancient God JLC's bloodline. Moreover, the range of his attacks was very wide, so it was also very taxing on his mind. The 2 peak rank 9 ancient gods grimaced. If not for their powerful soul intents and their mastery of time intent, they would have already been killed. The world darkened, and the dark water seemed to drown out everything. Work together. The 2 peak rank 9 Yao gods glanced at each other and began to circulate time intent. Suddenly, the world slowed to a crawl and eventually came to a stop. The 2 peak rank 9 Yao gods instantly broke free of Ancient God JLC's bindings. They hadn't even gotten very far when the world returned to normal. They escaped. Time intent. Ancient God JLC's expression darkened. The 2 peak rank 9 ancient gods worked together to use time intent to freeze time in an area. Fortunately, Ancient God JLC had a powerful cultivation, and the freezing lasted for only half a second. After breaking free, the 2 peak rank 9 Yao gods had extremely weak and dispirited expressions as they stared at Ancient God JLC. Although they had broken free, the 2 of them were in an extremely low state, with less than 50% of their peak fighting power. However, ancient god JLC had been using this secret art for a long time. Let's go. The dark water slowly gathered back into ancient god JLC's appearance. Although he had managed to intimidate the two Yao god groups, ancient god JLC had also expended a great deal of energy. If he continued to fight, his soul would suffer irreparable wounds. Moreover, this place was fraught with danger, and they still had a mission to complete. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Ancient god JLC's team left, and the surviving Yao gods only watched, making no attempt to stop them. Xi and Wuheng, Zhao Feng, I'll make you beg for death. Ancient god JLC's face was savage as he gnashed his teeth. This incident was definitely because of Zhao Feng and Xi and Wuheng's group. Deep underground, Zhao Feng's group was waiting. The members of the giant god race were using the items they had plundered from the treasury to cultivate and increase their strength. Zhao Feng also took out a dark lightning crystal from the 9 lightning soul-refining mirror and swallowed it. The 9 lightning soul-refining mirror could automatically refine and absorb souls, so Zhao Feng didn't have to worry about it. However, while refining souls, the lightning energy of the 9 lightning soul-refining mirror would weaken. However, if the refined lightning soul crystal was used as an energy source, it could increase the power of the 9 lightning soul-refining mirror. Zhao Feng had recently been consuming lightning soul crystals to refine his soul intent, strengthen his soul energy, and expel the impurities in his soul. Lightning soul crystal? Ancient god Cheng Yun saw Zhao Feng swallow a dark lightning crystal, and his face froze in shock. It was no wonder that Zhao Feng's soul eye bloodline techniques were so powerful that not even he, with his giant god race bloodline, could resist them. As it turned out, Zhao Feng had such a precious soul resource. It's rumored that lightning soul crystals can temper one's soul, refine one's soul energy, expel one's demon barrier, and cause the soul to undergo a heaven-toppling transformation. Ancient god Sundermount immediately said, "But swallowing it like that is truly reckless." Ancient god Cheng Yun quietly chuckled. The medicinal energy of lightning soul crystals was extremely tyrannical. It was normally crushed into powder or mixed with other soul-healing liquids. Otherwise, one might not be able to endure the tyrannical medicinal energy and suffer irreparable damage to the soul. However, after Zhao Feng swallowed the lightning soul crystal, he didn't show any signs of discomfort. His mouth would occasionally crackle, and he seemed to be enjoying it. This was not an act on Zhao Feng's part. To his lightning soul body, this tyrannical lightning soul crystal was the best tonic. Alas, these lightning soul crystals were all refined from the souls of rank 8 ancient gods. Zhao Feng mentally sighed. These lightning soul crystals were all refined from the souls of the experts of the Heavenly Demon Hall, but the souls that Zhao Feng used the 9 lightning soul-refining mirror to absorb were at most peak rank 8. At this time, Zhao Feng's soul intent had reached the limit of rank 8, and if he consumed too many lightning soul crystals, their effects would weaken. If he had lightning soul crystals refined from rank 9 souls, Zhao Feng's soul intent would have a high chance of directly reaching rank 9. Besides cultivating his soul, Zhao Feng was also comprehending time intent. In the ancestral legacy treasury, if one wasn't skilled in time intent, one would suffer greatly. Moreover, Zhao Feng cultivated time intent, and there were many more time intent resources here, making them much easier for him to cultivate. It wasn't just Zhao Feng. Xi and Wuheng and the other ancient gods also began to comprehend time intent. 1 month later, the group ended their seclusion and prepared to continue exploring. Let's first find the best time intent resources. If we can all comprehend time intent, our overall strength will receive a massive boost. Xi and Wuheng proposed. Chapter 1366. Let's first find the best time intent resources. If we can comprehend some time intent, our overall strength will greatly increase. Xi and Wuheng proposed. Once an ancient god reached the ancient god level, comprehending time intent was extremely simple. However, if one didn't have talent in this aspect, it would still be difficult to advance. A low-level time intent wasn't very useful to an ancient god realm expert. However, not long after the crowd appeared, a powerful divine sense swept across the area. Everyone's expression changed simultaneously. Not good. It's a scout from the Silver Tiger Yao gods. Through this divine sense, they were able to track down the appearance of the owner of the divine sense. Although this person was only an ordinary rank 8 ancient god, if it sensed Zhao Feng's group, it would definitely notify the other Yao gods. Let's go. Everyone didn't say anything else and decided to escape first. They had tricked the 2 Yao god groups into attacking a half-step god lord. Given how much time had passed, the 2 sides definitely knew what had happened. Even if they didn't know what had happened, Zhao Feng's group was still a thief who had robbed the treasury. The Silver Tiger Yao gods would not let them go. Clink clang. The little thieving cat tossed its bronze coin and pointed in a direction. Xi and Wuheng had some understanding of the little thieving cat's abilities, so he immediately led the group in the direction the little thieving cat had pointed. But in truth, the White Tiger Yao gods were only patrolling the area. They had suffered grievous casualties, and the souls of the Silver Tiger Yao gods were heavily injured. If an enemy attacked at this moment, they would be in danger. Within the giant god race treasury, those thieves. The Silver Tiger repeatedly sighed. His race had suffered grievous casualties, and he himself was heavily injured. It was more important to recover from his injuries as soon as possible. At this moment, several powerful auras began to approach the treasury. There were actually 2 half-step god lord auras among them. Humans. The Silver Tiger grimaced. 3 of these 6 figures were ancient god Jalesia's group that they had been pursuing before. 6 powerful auras descended upon the giant god race treasury, causing all the Silver Tiger Yao gods to feel as if they were facing a powerful foe. Whoosh! All the Silver Tiger Yao immortals rushed out and looked at the 6 people in the sky, ready for battle. Humans, you have the advantage in numbers. I admit defeat. I'll let you have this treasury. The peak rank, 9 Silver Tiger, said unwillingly. He also believed that these people were coveting the treasury that he had occupied. Ancient God JLC, you were reduced to such a miserable state by this weak peak rank 9? An old man in a dark green robe couldn't help but smile. Elder, back then, 2 Fey god groups joined forces. A rank 9 ancient god spoke up for ancient God JLC. The elder in the dark azure robe was another half-step god lord of ancient Soul Hall, ancient god Destruction Flow. It was rumored that he and ancient god JLC were close friends when they were young, but during one of the secret dimension explorations, they fought over treasures and became enemies. This is where I sense the location of the ancient god seal. A pity that I was delayed by the 2 Yao god groups, allowing Xi and Wuheng and the others to escape. Ancient God JLC had a gloomy expression as he ignored ancient God Destruction Flow and spoke to Yuheng. Yuheng closed his eyes and pinched his fingers together. After a long time, he opened his deep eyes and didn't say a word. I clearly already have a few clues, but I still can't divine their location. Yuheng was alarmed and felt that there was something fishy about this matter. If his master were here, he would be able to sense that an even more profound power of the Way of Destiny was affecting Yu Heng's deduction. Kill them all. Don't let go of any clues. Yu Heng suddenly said, a smile on his handsome face. The ancient soul race was skilled in the soul Tao. After devouring the souls of their opponents, they could obtain all their memories and information. If you want the treasury, we'll give it to you, but if you insist on attacking my race, we won't let you have it easy. The Silver Tiger roared, its body exploding with a savage energy. The other Silver Tiger, Yao gods, also had indignant looks on their faces as they prepared to put their lives on the line. If they really did fight, they would definitely be the ones to suffer. But at this moment, they had no other choice but to use this threat to threaten the humans. Once the humans attacked, they would use suicidal attacks. The threat of the Silver Tiger Yao gods made the members of Ancient Soul Hall hesitate. If they weren't careful, the self-detonation of a peak rank 9 could kill even a half-step God Lord, let alone ancient God JLC, who was already injured. A bunch of ants still want to resist. Yu Hung faintly smiled and stepped forward. What does he want to do? Ancient God JLC and Ancient God Destruction Flow stared at Yu Hung in confusion. They listened to Yu Hung not because of Yu Hang's strength, but because of God Lord's stellar aspect. With Yu Hang's rank 9 Ancient God strength, if he wasn't careful, he could be killed by a sudden attack from a silver tiger Yao God. However, in the next moment, Yu Hang's body began to emanate an ancient bloodline aura that could shake everything in the area. Bzzz. Streams of gold and silver energy revolved around Yu Hang's body, forming the image of an ancient god devil. In a flash, the blood of the silver tiger Yao gods felt an incredible pressure. It was as if Yu Hang was their ancestor. Almost all the Yao gods prostrated themselves on the ground, their bodies and souls trembling in fear. Only the 2 rank 9 Yao gods stared in shock and fear at Yu Hang. Not only that, but the ancient Soul Hall members behind Yu Hang also felt an incredibly powerful ancient bloodline pressure. The half-step God Lord of Ancient Soul Hall even sensed that his ancient soul race bloodline was unable to circulate, that his body could not transform into an ancient soul body. Just what sort of bloodline is this? Ancient God, JLC trembled as he stared at Yu Hang in shock. Even when facing the giant god race, he had never felt this way. If this was the case, then Yu Hang's bloodline was definitely in the top 10 ancient races, and it gave off the feeling that it was even higher. The top 10 ancient races were all forbidden existences in the legends of the Desolate Era. Just which one of the top 10 bloodlines did Yu Hang possess? Kill! Yu Hang called out. The ancient Soul Hall experts nodded in shock and charged forward. As for the Silver Tiger Yao gods, under the suppression of Yu Hang's supreme bloodline, they found it difficult to even think of resisting. Even if they did, their fighting power would be greatly reduced. In the end, all the Silver Tiger Yao gods were killed. The ancient Soul Hall experts extracted the memories from their souls. There's a report that Xian Wuheng's group appeared there a few days ago. A rank 9 ancient god shared the information he had obtained with the others. But this was all the information they had on Zhao Feng's group. Split up and continue searching. If there's anything, report to me. Yu Hang flatly said. This treasury. Ancient god JLC turned to the treasury. The Silver Tiger Yao gods had all been killed, and the treasury was empty. Such a precious treasure trove was simply abandoned here. It was truly a reckless waste of God's gifts. Okay, I'll give you 15 minutes. The moment Yu Hang finished speaking, the members of Ancient Soul Hall surged into the treasury. Only Yu Hang floated in the air, looking into the distance as if in deep thought. 15 minutes later, the members of Ancient Soul Hall emerged from the treasury. Yu Hang chose a few items that he needed from everyone else's harvest. The 2 half-step god lords had no complaints. After fleeing for some distance, Zhao Feng's group stopped. This cat is truly reliable. We should be heading toward the inner region of the Ancestral Legacy Treasury. Ancient God Resplendence praised the little thieving cat. There was no sun or moon in the Ancestral Legacy Treasury. The world was overcast, and divine sense and vision were hindered, making it impossible to determine one's direction. But as they advanced, they discovered that the plants growing around them were getting older and older. Even the rare plants that occasionally appeared were nearly 1 billion years old. Thus, Ancient God Resplendence speculated that they were heading toward the inner region. There's a building up ahead, Zhao Feng suddenly said. No one doubted this. After spending so much time together, they had a certain understanding of the abilities of Zhao Feng's eye bloodline. Could it be a Yao God faction that exists in this place? Ancient God Sundermount speculated. That the building of the Heaven's Legacy race. Zhao Feng carefully examined it for a few moments before finally saying, Heaven's Legacy race? The others immediately called out in alarm. How could there be a building of the Heaven's Legacy race in this dimension? The ordinary members of the giant god race believed that the ancestral legacy treasury had been established by a god lord of the giant god race. Everyone, in truth, the ancient god seal was accidentally obtained by an ancestor of the giant god race. Later on, this dimension was opened, and after being passed down through the generations, it became known as the ancestral legacy treasury. Xi and Wuheng told them what only the god lords of the giant god race knew. The ancient god seal was connected to the heavens legacy race, so it made sense that this dimension was connected to the heavens legacy race. It's rumored that the heavens legacy race divided its main legacy into countless branches of various sizes all over the fan universe. Could this dimension be one of the many branches of the heavens legacy race's legacy? Ancient god Cheng Yun speculated. If this really was the case, then this legacy was definitely an extremely high-level branch legacy of the heavens legacy race. I'm not sure about this either. I asked the ancestor of the giant god race about this, but not even he gave me a definite answer. Xi and Wuheng shook his head. The group slowly approached the heavens legacy race building. Firstly, the legacy of the heavens legacy race was extremely attractive. Many of the skills of the heavens legacy race could even change the fate of a faction. Secondly, everyone wanted to figure out the origin of this space. There was no doubt that this dimension was of a very high level. Even half-step god lords would be suppressed here. Moreover, this dimension was rather bizarre. All the Yao gods were extremely skilled in time intent, and the various resources were also primarily based on time intent. Soon, the huge steel building appeared in front of everyone. Meow. The little thieving cat suddenly began to gesture with Zhao Feng. There's danger. Zhao Feng's expression froze. Wasn't it the little thieving cat that led them here? Why did it say that there was danger after bringing them here? The little thieving cat immediately explained that it was only leading the group in this direction, not allowing them to enter the building. Zhao Feng was just preparing to tell the group what the little thieving cat meant. Suddenly, ancient god Cheng Yun called out in alarm. That's a moonlight sky bamboo. It said that it requires at least 2 billion years to grow, and it's a time cultivation resource. In a corner of the building was a bamboo shoot glimmering with white light. When the group looked at it, they felt like they were in a world of space-time. It's rumored that the moonlight sky bamboo contains extremely pure time essence and is one of the most precious treasures for comprehending time intent. Consuming it can even increase one's ability to comprehend time intent. This legendary time intent cultivation resource was a treasure that all time intent cultivators dreamed of obtaining. In the outside world, there was simply no market for it. Several million years ago, news of this resource appearing somewhere in the ancient desolate realm of gods immediately attracted the attention of many time intent cultivators of the surrounding zones. Even god lords personally took action. Chapter 1367. Moonlight Sky Bamboo. Everyone stared at the interior of the Heavens Legacy Race building. Even Zhao Feng was so moved that he forgot about the danger the little thieving cat spoke of. Normal time intent cultivation materials only contain the power and intent of time intent. However, the Moonlight Sky Bamboo contained the essence of time. It was a rare treasure among time intent cultivation materials. After consuming this resource, one could slowly refine and comprehend time essence, allowing one to comprehend time intent with half the effort. Moreover, there was a rumor that consuming the Moonlight Sky Bamboo could increase one's ability to comprehend time intent. It was a resource that time intent cultivators could only dream of. Although they were tempted by the appearance of such a valuable treasure, no one dared to act recklessly. Based on their previous experience, any place with a treasure was accompanied by a certain amount of danger. Perhaps the Heavens Legacy Race building where the Moonlight Sky Bamboo resided contained some unknown danger. The group cautiously approached and warily observed their surroundings. There's nothing strange about it. After careful observation, they didn't find anything suspicious and couldn't help but speed up. But when they were less than 100 feet from the Heavens Legacy Race building, they suddenly sensed an extremely profound time intent pressure. What a powerful pressure! Ancient God Resplendence said in shock. It must be the time energy exuded by the moonlight sky bamboo. Ancient God Chung Yun excitedly said. The moonlight sky bamboo was a treasure used to cultivate time intent, so it was of extremely high quality. Coupled with the fact that the resources here were even older, it wasn't strange for them to exude such profound time energy. Of course, there was also another reason. They were not skilled in time intent, or else this pressure would have been much weaker. After entering the Heaven's Legacy race building, they still didn't find anything strange, so they became even bolder and charged at the moonlight sky bamboo. But the closer they got, the more the time intent pressure increased. It was like the entire space had become extremely thick and heavy, and their every movement was greatly hindered and slowed down. But the more this was the case, the more it proved that the moonlight sky bamboo was of extremely high quality. Once they were only 1 foot from the moonlight sky bamboo, every inch seemed to take an extremely long time. At this moment, Zhao Feng's left eye noticed something strange. Careful, Zhao Feng immediately warned, but his voice was extremely slow. Before he could finish speaking, 3 white lights appeared from within the Heaven's Legacy race building. Swoosh! In an instant, the 3 beams of light closed in on Zhao Feng and the others. Their speed shocked everyone. Due to the suppression of the profound of time, no one could react in time. They couldn't even use their defensive methods. Boom! A few white light beams as thick as an arm bombarded where everyone was in extremely fast speed. Fortunately, the attack was not very powerful, and no one had received any fatal injuries. However, if they continued to stay near the moonlight sky bamboo, they would not be able to fight back at all. The continuous damage would slowly accumulate, and it would be enough to cause serious injuries. The group left the vicinity of the moonlight sky bamboo. What is that? Fortunately, their cultivation is not high, and their attacks are not strong. Otherwise, we would have been in trouble. As Zhao Feng's group left the vicinity of the moonlight sky bamboo, the influence of the time intent weakened. Everyone stared at the 3 strange spiritual bodies floating above their heads. The 3 special demon immortals were about the size of a normal human. Their faces were savage, with triangular eyes and long ears. They looked like 3 little devils. They had no legs and just floated in the air. Human die. The 3 devil Yao gods glared at Zhao Feng's group and attacked. Truly reckless. So weak, yet you dare to attack us? Ancient God Chung Yun couldn't help but sneer. They had almost obtained the moonlight sky bamboo, but because of these 3 devil Yao gods, they were forced to retreat. They had also experienced the strength of these 3 devil Yao gods. Their attacks were only slightly stronger than an ordinary rank 8. The 3 fiend Yao immortals were unmoved. Their killing intent toward the group was so solid that it seemed solid. Swoosh swoosh. A few white auroras shone down. Before ancient god Chung Yun could react, he was struck by the attacks. The others did react, but only Zhao Feng and Xian Wuheng managed to dodge the attacks. What a fast attack! Ancient God Resplendence said in shock. The enormous suppression of time intent prevented them from noticing this. Hurry and kill them, or else we won't be able to get the moonlight sky bamboo. Ancient God Chung Yun bellowed as he took the lead and thrust out a palm. Swoosh! Ancient God Chung Yun cultivated wind intent, so this palm of his was extremely fast. However, the 3 Yao immortals shifted slightly to the left and easily dodged the attack. At the same time, the rest of the group began to unleash attacks, preparing to finish off the 3 Yao gods. Boom! Swoosh! Attacks filled the sky, flying back and forth. The 3 Yao gods weaved through the gaps between the attacks, dodging all the attacks without suffering the slightest injury. On the other hand, the rest of the group was slightly injured. The 3 devil Yao gods attacked with incredible speed. If they were completely focused, they would have been able to dodge. Damn! This situation made all of them rather sullen. But what could they do? The three devil Yao gods were moving too fast, almost as fast as instant movement. Instant movement required time, and these three Yao gods seemed to be born with this speed. Given how fast they were, it was probably impossible for them to engage in close combat. It's also very hard to lock onto them with eye bloodline techniques. Zhao Feng helplessly smiled. The three devil Yao gods had extremely sharp senses. The moment they sensed that Zhao Feng had locked onto them, they immediately began to move. Such speed. Could it be the light race, one of the top 10 races of the 10,000 ancient races? Xin Wuheng mentally muttered. The light race, ranked 7th among the 10,000 ancient races, controlled time, energy, and possessed the fastest speed in the fan universe. But the light race was not a Yao god, and they had a completely different appearance from the devil Yao gods. Meanwhile, the three teams from Ancient Soul Hall had swept through the giant god race treasury before splitting up to search for Xin Wuheng's group. Don't let me catch you, or else I'll make you wish you were dead. Ancient God JLC had a gloomy expression. They were originally on the verge of obtaining the Ancient God Seal and becoming the greatest contributors. But because of Xin Wuheng and Zhao Feng's scheme, they were surrounded by two Yao God groups, causing him to lose all face in front of Ancient God Destruction Flow. The moment he finished speaking, the crystal ball in Ancient God JLC's hand flashed with an azure light. Nearby, Ancient God JLC grimaced. The other two members of Ancient Soul Hall were also shocked. They didn't expect their luck to be so good that they actually found the location of their target again. Elder, aren't we going to inform Yuheng? The rank 9 Ancient God asked. Yuheng had instructed them to inform him immediately if they discovered the whereabouts of the Ancient God Seal. Don't be hasty. Ancient God JLC hesitated for a few moments before speaking. As long as he successfully obtained the Ancient God Seal this time, he would be the greatest contributor. Another reason was that his sworn enemy, Ancient God Destruction Flow, just so happened to be on the same team as Yuheng, so he didn't want Ancient God Destruction Flow to benefit. If we can solve it, then all the credit will be ours. If it's too difficult, it won't be too late to inform them. Ancient God JLC added, and the other two agreed. Ancient God JLC's group quickly flew in the direction indicated by the crystal ball. A Heaven's Legacy Race building. The rank 9 expert of Ancient Soul Hall exclaimed. Why would there be a Heaven's Legacy Race building here? Another member of the team muttered in shock. In their understanding, the Ancestral Legacy Treasury was the private treasury of the giant god race, but they hadn't expected for it to contain a Heaven's Legacy Race building. It seemed like this treasury had an unusual origin. They must be searching for some treasure in the Heaven's Legacy Race building. The rank 9 Ancient God was stunned. The Heaven's Legacy Race had countless branches of inheritance in the fan universe, and there were both big and small opportunities hidden within them. A high-level dimension like the Ancestral Legacy Treasury would definitely contain extraordinary Heaven's Legacy Race legacies. Enemies are bound to meet. Ancient God JLC savagely laughed as he led the group forward. Before they even got close to the Heaven's Legacy Race building, they sensed the astonishing ripples of divine power and the sounds of battle, causing them to slightly slow down. Within the Heaven's Legacy Race building, the three extremely fast devil Yao gods were making everyone extremely annoyed. Use large-scale attacks to completely seal off their range of dodging, Zhao Feng suggested. Everyone immediately agreed to this suggestion. Although the three fiend Yao immortals were fast, the narrow space here limited their strengths. Water Lightning Illusion World. Zhao Feng activated his left eye, unleashing a net of lightning. This lightning energy rapidly expanded, absorbing the surrounding water intent and transforming into a massive net of water lightning that sealed off the three devil Yao gods' paths of retreat. On the other side, the giant god race team unleashed powerful large-scale attacks. The devil Yao gods were only fast, but their defenses were rather average. They were struck by the combined attacks and were immediately slain. It's finally over. Ancient God Cheng Yin exhaled and turned to the moonlight sky bamboo. But at this moment, three powerful auras appeared outside the Heaven's Legacy Race building. Haha, the moonlight sky bamboo is ours, and your lives are also ours. Ancient God, JLC loudly laughed. They had failed last time, but now they had discovered Zhao Feng's group again. Besides that, they had also discovered the moonlight sky bamboo, a cultivation treasure for time and tent. This was a double harvest. There's someone else. Ancient God Resplendence grimaced. The others also grimaced. They were inside the building, so their senses were hindered. As a result, they were unable to sense what was happening outside. There, from Ancient Soul Hall, Ancient God Sundermount was flabbergasted. Wasn't the ancestral legacy treasury only accessible through the Ancient God Seal? Why would the people of Ancient Soul Hall come here? The people of Ancient Soul Hall actually came here. Xi and Wuheng and Zhao Feng's expression shook and were filled with disbelief. How could this be? Ancient God Cheng Yun's body trembled in despair. Just when they were about to obtain the moonlight sky bamboo, the three devil Yao gods had suddenly caused trouble. Now that they had dealt with them, they were faced with an even greater danger. Although there were only three enemies, they were not people they could fight against. Just the half-step god Lord alone was enough to control the situation. Chapter 1368. The giant god race had the advantage in numbers, but the power of Ancient Soul Hall's half-step god lords could easily crush anyone below rank 9. The only person who could stop Ancient God JLC for a moment was Xian Wuheng. But that was only if Xian Wuheng activated his bloodline and used all his techniques. How could this be? How did they get here? Is the giant god race destined to never rise again? Ancient God Resplendence had a look of despair on her face. She originally believed that by coming here, she would be cut off from the ancient desolate realm of gods. As long as she gathered enough resources and returned to the race, she could rest and gradually develop until she surpassed Ancient Soul Hall. She hadn't expected that Ancient Soul Hall's pursuit would extend all the way to the ancestral legacy treasury. These three members of Ancient Soul Hall alone were not people they could fight against. No one knew if there were other Ancient Soul Hall experts nearby. How did you get in here? Xian Wuheng's expression darkened as he asked. This was the biggest doubt in his heart. There's no need for people about to die to know so much. Ancient God JLC faintly smiled. In truth, he only knew that they had used God Lord Stellar Aspect's teleportation array to get here. God Lord Stellar Aspect and Yu Heng had mysterious backgrounds. Probably only the God Lord experts of Ancient Soul Hall knew the specifics. Ancient God JLC secretly messaged the other two ancient gods. Attack Xian Wuheng. Seizing the ancient god seal is the most important thing. In contrast to the despair of the giant god race members, Zhao Feng was calmly examining the trio. Could it be that the humans that appeared near the two Yao god groups were also these people? Zhao Feng carefully thought back to what had happened. Back then, the two peak rank 9 Yao gods had discovered other humans and worked together to deal with them. Only a half-step god lord could make these two Yao god groups treat them with such importance and work together to deal with them. Bzzz. Zhao Feng's left eye slowly began to turn as he began to carefully examine Ancient God JLC. Gradually, Zhao Feng was able to see the condition of Ancient God JLC's body and soul. It really was them. Zhao Feng faintly smiled. The injuries on the trio had not completely healed. Ancient God JLC in particular had consumed too much of his bloodline, and his soul origin was also rather weak. Xian Wuheng, listen to me. Zhao Feng transmitted his voice to Xian Wuheng without changing his expression. Ancient God JLC and the other two had intentionally concealed their injuries so that the members of the giant god race would find it difficult to see. Thus, they believed that they had no chance of victory and found it difficult to even muster the will to fight. Give me your life. Ancient God JLC bellowed, and with a wave of his hand, a ball of black energy flew out. In this black light was a savage crocodile. It was none other than Ancient God JLC's soul beast. At the same time, Ancient God Jailsea's body swayed as he joined the Soul Beast in attacking Ancient God Resplendence. On the other side, the two ancient gods of Ancient Soul Hall also unleashed their Soul Beast attacks. Alright, let's pretend to attack the others, then surround Xian Wuheng and kill him. Ancient God Jailsea mentally chuckled. They were all aware of Xian Wuheng's strength. If he were to unleash his full strength, it would be extremely terrifying. The only person present who could contend against Ancient God Jailsea was Xian Wuheng. As long as he was killed, there was nothing to worry about. If Ancient God Jailsea was in his peak condition, he could just attack Xian Wuheng. Alas, the injuries to his soul were not so easy to heal, so this strategy made it easier to succeed. But the moment the Ancient Soul Hall experts unleashed their attacks, Xian Wuheng charged forward. Boom! A heaven-shaking ancient bloodline energy surged toward the Ancient Soul Hall trio. As he activated his giant god race bloodline, Xian Wuheng waved his hands and used a secret defensive art. Immediately, a five-colored mirror appeared between his palms. How could this be? Ancient God Jailsea grimaced in disbelief. Xian Wuheng seemed to have planned this all along. He exploded with all his strength and charged forward with incredible speed. The defensive art he used weakened the attacks of the Ancient Soul Hall trio. Boom! As Xian Wuheng collided with the Ancient Soul Hall trio, his body suddenly expanded. A giant more than 100,000 feet tall appeared outside the Heaven's Legacy Race building, causing the earth to tremble. Clang-clang. The Ancient Soul Hall trio were sent flying for some distance before finally managing to steady themselves. Other than Ancient God Jailsea, the other two Ancient Soul Hall members alternated between red and white, blood trickling down the corner of their lips. Ancient Soul Hall was skilled in the Soul Tao, and the giant god race possessed extremely powerful bodies. Moreover, Xian Wuheng had an extremely thick bloodline. Thus, in a direct clash of strength, the three Ancient Soul Hall members were forced back by Xian Wuheng. How could this be? On the surface, we have the advantage. They should be on the defensive. The peak rank 8 Ancient God was stunned. Moreover, the other members of the giant god race truly did have gloomy expressions, their hearts filled with fear and no desire to fight. They saw our injuries. Ancient God Jailsea's expression darkened. After sending the Ancient Soul Hall trio flying, Xian Wuheng did not pause. He continued to charge forward and thrust out a finger. This finger was as massive as a mountain. Xian Wuheng gathered all his strength and fused it with 5 elements intent and thrust it forward. A trifling rank 9 Ancient God. Even if this old man is injured, killing you is still easy. Ancient God Jailsea was instantly enraged. Their plan had completely failed, and they had been caught off guard by Xian Wuheng. This infuriated him. But the moment he finished speaking, Ancient God Jailsea sensed something and his eyes froze. Xian Wuheng, who was charging over, tilted his head slightly. Behind him, a dreamy silver eye appeared in front of the Ancient Soul Hall trio. That's a secret art similar to the space transference eye. The rank 9 Ancient God of Ancient Soul Hall called out in alarm. Xian Wuheng's massive body and his intimidating bloodline energy concealed everything, so they failed to sense the space transference eye in the sky. Tribulation lightning eye flame. In the eye of heaven state, Zhao Feng unleashed his tribulation lightning eye bloodline technique. His target was only one, Ancient God Jailsea. Zhao Feng had just become a rank 8 Ancient God and could fight against a rank 9 Ancient God. If he wanted to kill a rank 9, he would need to use his origin energy and some of his trump cards. Ancient God Jailsea was only a half-step godlord, so there was an enormous gap between him and a rank 9 Ancient God. In the face of such an opponent, Zhao Feng did not dare to be careless and fought at his peak state. Just a moment ago, he had undone the seal on his origin energy. In addition, while in the Eye of Heaven state, the power of Zhao Feng's eye bloodline techniques would receive an enormous boost. Cackrack. A twisted lightning flame exploded on ancient god Jaelsia's soul body. Countless bolts of lightning wreaked havoc, the destructive lightning energy causing the two ancient gods on the side to tremble in fear. If they were to face this eye bloodline technique, even if they didn't die, they would be heavily injured. Ancient god Jaelsia's thoughts were momentarily interrupted by the tribulation lightning eye flame. At this moment, Exine Wuheng's attack arrived. Oh no! The other two ancient gods grimaced and used their secret defensive arts to protect ancient god Jaelsi. Boom! Bang! Exine Wuheng thrust out a finger, shattering the divine power barrier in front of ancient god Jaelsi. Ancient god Jaelsi was also thrown several thousand li away. Alas, by the time Exine Wuheng struck ancient god Jaelsi, he had already partially recovered and was circulating divine power to block the majority of the damage. After doing all this, Zhao Feng ignored ancient god Jaelsi and looked behind him. Still not done? Zhao Feng's brow furrowed. While he and Exine Wuheng were moving out, he had ancient god Resplendence group take away the moonlight sky bamboo as quickly as possible, but they still hadn't succeeded. Meow. The little thieving cat grinned, indicating that it was still up to him. Dooish. In a flash of silver-gray light, the little thieving cat immediately approached the moonlight sky bamboo. It's this cat. It's not suppressed by this dimension. Ancient god Resplendence rejoiced. The little thieving cat truly was not suppressed by this dimension, but the time energy exuded by the moonlight sky bamboo was extremely powerful, so the little thieving cat was still somewhat affected. However, it still quickly approached the moonlight sky bamboo and plucked it with a swipe of its paw. At this moment, an astonishing energy exploded from the horizon. I'll tear all of you to pieces. Ancient god Jaelsi roared as he transformed into a black wave that frenziedly charged forward. Hide inside, Zhao Feng suddenly said. The group began to make their way into the Heaven's Legacy Race building. It was only because they had caught ancient god Jaelsi off guard that they managed to catch him off guard, but ancient god Jaelsi had not been very injured. In addition, the ancient soul race was skilled in speed, and, as a half-step godlord, ancient god Jaelsi was undoubtedly the fastest person present. If they tried to flee, they would definitely be caught. Thus, hiding inside the Heaven's Legacy Race building was the better choice. Follow me, Zhao Feng straightforwardly said. When making this decision, he had already roughly inspected the building and realized that it was extremely large. On the way, he saw many places growing time-type cultivation resources, but most of them were not as valuable as a time treasure like the moonlight sky bamboo. Their lives were more important, so they didn't have the time to pluck them. Moreover, once they got close to these resources, they would be affected by time intent. Ancient god Jaelsi would probably arrive before they succeeded. Besides these resources, there were also the Devil Yao gods. When the Devil Yao gods saw Zhao Feng's group, they immediately put on savage and furious expressions. Leave it to me. Exine Wuheng went to the back of the group and slightly activated his bloodline. Circulating divine power, he unleashed 5 colored rings of light to block the attacks of the Devil Yao gods. Fortunately, these Devil Yao gods weren't very strong, so Exine Wuheng alone was enough to deal with them. Meow. The little thieving cat suddenly left Zhao Feng's shoulder and jumped to the side. What does that cat want to do? Ancient god Cheng Yun immediately asked. The little thieving cat was holding the moonlight sky bamboo. Nothing could be allowed to happen to it. The little thieving cat's body split into 4, each of them jumping to a nearby building, its hands surrounded by silver-gray light as it began to feel around. The gloomy space immediately began to flash with faint light, exuding an inexplicable chill. Swish, swish, swish. The 3 members of Ancient Soul Hall quickly caught up. At this moment, something happened. Kaboom! Many holes appeared on the walls on both sides of the corridor, spewing out black flames that formed a massive net of fire. Careful! Ancient god Jaelsi grimaced, but it was too late. Aya! Two nearby Devil Yao gods were engulfed by the black flames and instantly turned to ash. Caught off guard, the three were also engulfed by the black flame net. Their bodies were instantly set aflame, and even their souls were somewhat scorched. Damn, it's a trap of the Heaven's legacy race. Furious shouts could be heard as the three were forced to stop in order to block the terrifying black flames. Chapter 1369. Damn, it's a trap set up by the Heaven's legacy race. Furious shouts could be heard as the trio was forced to stop in order to block the terrifying black flames. What sort of flame is this? The peak rank 8 ancient god of ancient soul hall asked in alarm. These black flames could absorb the energy in their bodies to increase the intensity of the flames. Moreover, these flames could even affect the soul. As the weakest member of the ancient soul hall trio, he was tormented the most. Boom! On the other side, ancient god JLC unleashed powerful water intent divine power to quickly extinguish the black flames. After doing all this, he immediately went to help the other two members resolve the crisis. That cat actually has this kind of ability? Ancient god JLC was bewildered. Originally, this building had been around for too long, so all the mechanisms and traps within it had stopped working. However, the little thieving cat's actions just now had succeeded in activating some of the traps. If they wanted to continue down, they would definitely encounter many obstacles. Humans died. At this moment, several furious roars could be heard. Whoosh! Several rays of white light shot toward the ancient soul hall trio. They transformed into little demons that flickered with white light. As they waved their claws, they fired off rays of white light. Just what are these? The peak rank 8 ancient soul hall god frowned. This was the first time they had ever seen a Yao god of this type, and since they were attacking with such reckless abandon, they had clearly lost their minds or had been demonized. Low-level and foolish creatures. Ancient god JLC's expression chilled as he waved his hand, unleashing a wave of black water. This black wave covered an enormous area, and it surged through the world. The Devil Yao gods were only fast, but their cultivations were rather low. They cannot possibly block the attacks of a half-step godlord. Ah! Screams rang out in the air, and in a flash, all the Devil Yao gods had been killed. What do we do, Elder? The rank 9 ancient god of ancient soul hall asked. If they continued down, they would definitely run into many obstacles. At this moment, he wanted to notify Yuhong. God Lord Stellar Aspect clearly had some understanding of the Heaven's legacy race's legacy arts. As his disciple, Yuhong should be able to dispel the traps here. They're already trapped here, so there's no need for us to rush. We can slowly dispel them until we kill them and complete the mission. Ancient God JLC directly said, if he were to contact Yuhong and the others, wouldn't he be telling them that he had once again encountered Xi and Wuheng's group and was caught off guard by their sudden attack? He was a half-step godlord, but he had been pushed back by Xi and Wuheng and a rank 8 ancient god. This was the greatest humiliation of his life. If his sworn enemy, ancient god Destruction Flow, learned of this, he would definitely use this matter to ridicule him for millions of years. However, as long as he killed Xi and Wuheng and the others and took back the ancient god seal, all of this would disappear. Great, we also need some time to recover from our injuries. Ancient God JLC continued. Elder's right. At that time, they won't be able to escape even if they have wings. The other rank 9 ancient gods smiled. Everyone had their own selfish motives, and they were no exception. They wanted to take all the credit. The ancient Soul Hall trio had been stopped by the Heaven's legacy race's trap. The members of the giant god race had also noticed this. Tianji's secret art, Xi and Wuheng, who was at the back of the group, had the clearest view. Originally, because this place had been here for too long, all the installations, including the traps, had stopped operating. But the little thieving cat's actions just now had once more activated a trap array. One had to realize that even Xi and Wuheng, skilled in Tianji secret arts, was unable to activate the traps of the Heaven's legacy race in such a short amount of time. From this, one could see that the little thieving cat's abilities were rather abnormal. This cat, to think that it would be so formidable. Ancient God Chung Yun's eyes froze. Ancient God Sundermount had a slightly better expression. He had even seen the little thieving cat use a bloodline ability of the ancient soul race to defeat a soul beast of the ancient soul race. The group quickly fled into the depths of the building. What should we do now? Ancient God Resplendence asked. In the situation just now, even if they had fled, the ancient Soul Hall trio would have instantly caught up. Although they were currently hiding in this place and weren't in any danger, they were essentially trapped here. But they were essentially trapped here. The people of ancient Soul Hall would come sooner or later. What would they do then? At least we're still alive. We still have time to think of a countermeasure and a chance of survival. Xian Wuheng indifferently said, "Stop chatting. Let's first take care of the nearby Yao gods." Zhao Feng scanned the area and then said. Then they worked together and destroyed all the devils and Yao immortals in the small dimension. Take out the moonlight sky bamboo and distribute it. Ancient God Chung Yun looked at the little thieving cat on Zhao Feng's shoulder. Although they had previously come to an agreement that they could not interfere with Zhao Feng's opportunity, they were not allowed to interfere. But the giant god race had put in a lot of effort to obtain the moonlight sky bamboo, and this treasure was so precious. Meow meow. The little thieving cat reluctantly took out the moonlight sky bamboo. This moonlight sky bamboo has 3 segments. I'll take one of them. After speaking, Zhao Feng turned to the giant god race. All right, let's split like that. Ancient God Chung Yun and the others froze for a few moments before agreeing. If the distribution was based on effort, Zhao Feng and Xian Wuheng had obstructed Ancient God JLC, and the little thieving cat had personally plucked the moonlight sky bamboo. Zhao Feng should have gotten 2 sections. Now that Zhao Feng only wanted one of them, they were naturally willing. Little did they know that Zhao Feng had the god eye duplication ability and could duplicate resources. But the quality of the moonlight sky bamboo was too high. Duplicating an entire stalk would consume too much energy and might even result in failure. Thus, he only needed 1 section to greatly increase the chances of success. After dividing up the moonlight sky bamboo, the group turned their eyes to the resources growing in this small dimension. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The group began to move. Although this dimension was small, it was deep underground and had many resources of extremely high quality. White moongrass. Not only is it a time-intent cultivation resource, it can also nourish the soul and purify the mind. Ancient God Chung Yun cried out in alarm as he moved aside a boulder and plucked a crescent-shaped herb. The main resources here were related to time intent, but there was no lack of other resources as well. The members of the giant god race excitedly searched the area, picking up all the rare treasures they could find. Why isn't that kid moving? Ancient God Chung Yun glanced at Zhao Feng out of the corner of his eye, but he noticed that Zhao Feng was standing motionless. After some thought, Ancient God Chung Yun believed that perhaps because the giant god race had too many people, Zhao Feng felt that he had no hope of obtaining any precious resources, so he didn't move. Suddenly, Zhao Feng moved. He went to a corner of a ruined wall and slashed out a palm, carving out a hole in the rubble. A jade-green light instantly shot out. Swish! With a wave of his hand, Zhao Feng took out a pebble the size of a palm. This pebble flowed with jade-green light and exuded a faint chill. Jade Nether Spirit Essence Stone. Ancient God Chung Yun called out in alarm at the sight of this jade stone. To think that it's this strange stone. This is a unique variant of divine stone essence. It contains vast amounts of heaven and earth essence that can temporarily strengthen one's divine stage and strengthen one's ancient god divine power. Ancient God Sundermount also looked over, and he couldn't help but be surprised. Although they had obtained many things, not many of them could compare in value to the jade Nether Spirit Essence Stone. After putting the stone away in his interspatial dimension, Zhao Feng once more looked around. For time intent, he had the moonlight sky bamboo, so he didn't need to fight over other time-intent cultivation resources unless they were of a higher quality than the moonlight sky bamboo. For this reason, Zhao Feng didn't rush into action. Instead, he began to observe and search for resources that suited him or that he didn't have. This jade nether spirit essence stone was one of them. It had the effect of cleansing the body, increasing one's cultivation, and condensing divine power. A few moments later, Zhao Feng moved out once more. He went behind a machine and punched. Boom! Bang! The machine was blasted away by Zhao Feng, revealing two small fruits growing in the corner. Void Spirit Thousand Leaves Fruit. Zhao Feng rejoiced. Although the Void Spirit Thousand Leaves Fruit was also a time-intent resource, it also contained space intent, making it a space-time cultivation resource of rather high quality. Although the value of this precious material wasn't as high as the Jade Nether Spirit Essence Stone, space intent was a power that everyone would try to cultivate, and this precious material contained the power of space intent. Naturally, it was much more valuable than time-type precious materials of the same rank. Damn, this kid only knows how to pick the good stuff. Ancient God Chungyun naturally understood what Zhao Feng was thinking. He didn't want much, only quality. On the other end, the little thieving cat's harvest was also extremely abundant. It didn't take long for the group to scour the entire dimension. Although the giant god race had more people and harvested more resources, in terms of value, it wasn't necessarily as valuable as what Zhao Feng and the little thieving cat had obtained. Ancient God Resplendence and Ancient God Chungyun even ran over to trade for the Void Spirit Thousand Leaves Fruit and Jade Nether Spirit Essence Stone that Zhao Feng had just obtained. However, Zhao Feng didn't need what they offered, so he refused. After plundering the resources, the group began to think about other matters. There's still some time before the ancient Soul Hall trio arrives. If we can all get a little stronger in this time, we might be able to fight back. After saying this, Xian Wuheng seated himself cross-legged on the ground. Lord Wuheng, you're right. Ancient God Sundermount also sat down cross-legged, took out some of the resources he had gathered, and began to cultivate. In truth, this was also what Zhao Feng was thinking. Swish! He entered the space-time robe and began to cultivate. As for the little thieving cat, it followed Zhao Feng's orders and went to complete the traps around this dimension so that they could delay the ancient Soul Hall trio for a little longer. On the other end, Ancient God Resplendence began to cultivate. Only Ancient God Chungyun seemed to be wandering around in search of resources. After leaving the room, Ancient God Chungyun went to a massive array of instruments. These instruments had stopped operating long ago, and they were still covered in a thick layer of dust and grime. Ancient God Chungyun walked up to a cylindrical crystal tube. This crystal tube contained many precious resources, but most of them had withered. Suddenly, a few weak rays of light emerged from the bottom of these resources. The crystal tube and the concealment of the resources made it impossible to tell what was going on. Could there be an abnormally precious treasure in here? Ancient God Chungyun suddenly thought of something. Chapter 1370. After entering the space-time robe, Zhao Feng first attempted to duplicate the moonlight sky bamboo. Of course, if not for the fact that he had a lot of time in the space-time robe, Zhao Feng really wouldn't have dared to duplicate such a treasure at this critical juncture. This moonlight sky bamboo was extremely precious, and its quality far surpassed Zhao Feng's cultivation. Duplicating it was extremely difficult. Moreover, using God Eye duplication consumed the origin energy in the dreamy silver ball, and Zhao Feng's eye intent and soul were also rather exhausted. This also meant that Zhao Feng would be in a weakened state after duplicating the item. After duplicating the moonlight sky bamboo, Zhao Feng immediately took out several other time intent cultivation resources, such as the most ordinary time origin flower and others. These resources were of rather low quality compared to the other time cultivation resources that had appeared in this place. For this reason, Zhao Feng had no plans to duplicate them and just use them. Less than 3 days later, when Zhao Feng used up his fourth time cultivation resource. His lips curled into a smile, and he opened his eyes. My time intent has finally reached level 5. Previously, Zhao Feng's time intent had already reached the peak of level 4. Now that he was in this special dimension and had these extremely old-time intent resources, he was able to easily break through. To an ancient god, level 5 time intent was completely useless. But now that Zhao Feng's time intent had reached level 5, he could use it with the space-time robe to adjust the time within it. BZZE. Time intent began to circulate, slowly fusing into the space-time robe dimension. Suddenly, the stars in the sky began to twinkle, and their positions began to subtly shift. At the same time, a profound time intent energy poured down, filling the entire dimension. Anyone with even a little understanding of time intent would realize that the flow of time in this dimension had changed. Master's time intent has reached level 5. The Black Destruction Serpent Dragon was taken aback. It knew that Zhao Feng cultivated 10 some kinds of intent. The fact that Zhao Feng was able to cultivate the profound meaning of time to such an extent was truly rare. 20 days in the space-time robe is only 1 day in the outside world. Zhao Feng sensed it and deduced the approximate data. You guys should also learn some time Power Upanishad. Zhao Feng gave the remaining cultivation resources to the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon and Zhao Wang. Perhaps he would need their help in the future. If he didn't understand the profound of time at all, he would be at a great disadvantage in this space. Thank you, Master. The Black Destruction Serpent Dragon said respectfully. He had long since noticed that the materials Zhao Feng was using were extraordinary. Now that he looked closely, he discovered that these precious materials were extremely old, and some of them were even over 1 billion years old. After doing all this, Zhao Feng returned to his original spot and took out the jade nether spirit essence stone. Precious materials that could raise one's cultivation would have their effects greatly reduced after being consumed a second time. Now that Zhao Feng was in danger and urgently needed to increase his strength, he did not duplicate it, but used it directly. Using a technique, Zhao Feng summoned the strange energy within the jade nether spirit essence stone. This energy was extremely pure and exuded a faint chill. After circulating through his body, it fused into his divine stages. As time passed, Zhao Feng's energy continued to rise. In the outside world, Xi and Wuheng and the others were also cultivating in a special dimension. At a certain moment, Xi and Wuheng's body suddenly began to exude a powerful ancient bloodline energy, but quickly faded away. At first, everyone was disturbed by this energy, but they soon got used to it. Xi and Wuheng's body contained the power of a god lord. In this dangerous moment, his body's potential was stimulated, and his strength was rapidly rising. Outside this dimension, the little thieving cat was searching for cultivation resources while activating the mechanisms of the array. On the other side, the ancient Soul Hall members were unhurriedly unraveling the mechanisms of the array. Their method of unraveling was naturally destruction. After all, they were not skilled in arrays and mechanisms. Rather than racking their brains to think of ways to unravel them, they might as well just destroy them. If this building was being operated normally, the mechanisms and traps within a certain range would all be connected to each other. Using this method to unravel the mechanisms would definitely result in being attacked by the other mechanisms. But at this moment, these mechanisms and traps had only been activated by the little thieving cat in a hurry and were not connected to the other mechanisms in the building. Boom! Bang! Crash! The ancient Soul Hall trio succeeded in destroying one of the mechanisms and pushed forward. The moment they entered, humans die. A few Devil Yao gods disregarded their own lives and charged forward. Truly fools. The ancient Soul Hall trio had long ago gotten used to this, and they used a few large-scale attacks to kill all of them. As they advanced, they would also plunder some precious resources. White moon grass, spirit essence, jade fruit. The peak rank 8 ancient god of ancient Soul Hall rejoiced as he flew into a nearby room. This is celestial, soul, purifying spirit, dew. Ancient God Jalesia's eyes flashed as he took out two gloomy and translucent drops of dew from a depression in a lush area of spirit grass. Celestial soul, purifying spirit, dew can purify the soul, repair soul injuries, and instantly replenish one's soul energy. Congratulations, Elder, on obtaining this soul dew. The other two ancient soul hall members also coveted this dew, but they were extremely tactful and did not mention how to split it. This dew is mine. I don't want any of the other resources around here. Ancient God Jalesi excitedly laughed. With this dew, Elder soul injuries will be healed in less than a day, and your strength in the soul Tao will even go up another level. When the time comes, Xian Wuheng's group will be doomed. The rank 9 ancient god of ancient soul hall immediately flattered. If their team completed this mission alone, they would obtain far more benefits than these 2 drops of celestial soul purifying spirit dew. All of you, hurry up, ancient god Jalesi immediately said. With the celestial soul purifying spirit dew, his injuries would be healed in less than a day, and his soul intent would also be strengthened. Since this was the case, they couldn't give Xian Wuheng's group any more time. They had to kill as quickly as possible. One day later, ancient god Jalesia's injuries were healed, and his soul energy was even stronger. The 3 of them worked together and rapidly advanced into the depths of the building. Within the space-time robe, Zhao Feng had been cultivating for more than 100 days. His energy was much stronger than before, and his body was constantly exuding astonishing ripples of divine power. BZZ. The jade nether spirit essence stone in Zhao Feng's hand was dim and lusterless, like an ordinary green pebble. At a certain moment, Zhao Feng increased the absorption rate, causing the jade nether spirit essence stone to rapidly dim. Crack! The jade nether spirit essence stone in his hand shattered. A little while later, Zhao Feng's energy began to recede. Not bad. My cultivation is already approaching the peak of rank 8. Zhao Feng rejoiced. One had to realize that 3 years ago, he had just become a rank 8 ancient god. This sort of cultivation speed was unmatched by anyone other than those who had recultivated. Moreover, on the 30th day of his seclusion, the Moonlight Sky bamboo segment was successfully duplicated. By now, he had recovered 70 to 80% of his soul and eye bloodline energy. Just when Zhao Feng was preparing to take out the Moonlight Sky bamboo and absorb time essence, a powerful ripple of time intent suddenly appeared in the outside world. What's this? Ancient God Cheng Yun's voice rang out. Zhao Feng immediately left the space-time robe and focused his gaze. In a room on the edge of this dimension, ancient God Cheng Yun stood in a daze in front of a massive machine. Atop this machine was a row of crystal tubes, one of which was already shattered. In the center of this shattered tube was a dazzling white light that rippled with time intent. Oh no! With his left eye's see-through ability, Zhao Feng could see things that normal people couldn't. He hadn't been carefully inspecting this machine before, but now that he could see through it, he realized that this row of crystal tubes was connected to a separate machine even deeper inside. BZZ. The ripples of intent within the shattered tube were getting stronger and stronger. A ball of white light shot out, heading straight for the closest ancient god Cheng Yun. What? Ancient god Cheng Yun called out in alarm. He wanted to dodge, but the ball of white light was too fast and entered his body. A thought body? Zhao Feng was alarmed. What's going on? At this moment, the others in seclusion were beginning to awaken. They scanned with their divine senses and immediately noticed that something was wrong with ancient god Cheng Yun. Another thought body has entered ancient god Cheng Yun's body. Ancient god Resplendence immediately said, and this thought body is extremely powerful. Xian Wuheng's expression darkened. He did not want to see a teammate in danger at a time like this. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The group immediately approached and prepared to help ancient god Cheng Yun suppress the thought body. Ancient God, Chung Yun screamed, his face contorted in pain as if he was undergoing inhuman torture. Just as the group arrived, Ancient God, Chung Yun suddenly calmed down and revealed a dreadful and wicked expression. Humans, kill all of you. Ancient God, Chung Yun suddenly turned to Zhao Feng's group, thick killing intent radiating from him. The group couldn't help but think of those devil Yao gods. At this moment, Ancient God Chung Yun was extremely similar to them. He had lost his mind and seemed to have been demonized, only knowing how to slaughter humans. Whoosh! Ancient God Chung Yun transformed into a streak of white light that shot toward the group. With a wave of his two palms, he sent several white blades of light slashing down. Get out of the way! Zhao Feng immediately called out. The demonized thought body residing in Ancient God Chung Yun's body was extremely powerful. After taking control of Ancient God Chung Yun, the power it displayed was completely different from that of the devil Yao gods they had encountered before. Moreover, the attacks it used were imbued with time intent, making them extremely fast. Zhao Feng reacted quickly, and his time intent was at level 5, allowing him to easily dodge. Swoosh! Ancient God Resplendence and Ancient God Sundermount, on the other hand, had no time to dodge and were struck by the white blades. 2 large wounds appeared on Ancient God Sundermount's chest, from which blood gushed out. Time intent energy still lingered in the wounds, making them extremely difficult to heal. Ancient God Resplendence fared a little better, only leaving behind 2 wounds on her arms. What do we do? Ancient God Resplendence looked questioningly at Xian Wuing. Do your best to suppress him, or else kill him. Xian Wuing thought for a moment and then firmly said. Chapter 1371. After being demonized by the thought body, Ancient God Chung Yun paused for a few moments, his face contorted in struggle. Save me. Hurry and save me. Ancient God Chung Yun howled in pain. It was clear that Ancient God Chung Yun still had a sliver of consciousness left and was currently fighting back against the thought body. This sight caused the giant god race team to pause in action. After all, Ancient God Chung Yun was a member of the giant god race, and the giant god race was in dire need of manpower. A peak rank 8 Ancient God was extremely important to the giant god race. But a moment later, Ancient God Chung Yun once more revealed his cold and cruel face. Kill them all. Ancient God Chung Yun transformed into a streak of white light as he charged forward once more, his sinister and cold aura spreading through the area. He waved his arms, sending a series of white blades hurtling toward the giant god race team. Ancient God Sundermount, back up. Xian Wuheng immediately called out. The demonized Ancient God Chung Yun was extremely powerful and skilled in time intent. Ancient God Sundermount's cultivation was too low. Remaining here was just waiting for death. Giant God Finger. Xian Wuheng circulated his bloodline power and thrust out a finger. These attacks were too difficult to dodge, so it was better to face them head-on and destroy them. Boom! Bang! A dazzling white beam of light shot forward, shattering the majority of the white blades. On the other side, Ancient God Resplendence was a peak rank 8, a little stronger than Ancient God Chung Yun, so she was able to deal with these attacks. As for Zhao Feng, he used the perceptive abilities of the god's spiritual eye, time intent, and spatial blink to barely dodge all the attacks. Attack! Xian Wuheng called out. He and Ancient God Resplendence activated their giant god race bloodlines, increasing their strength and defense even without revealing their true bodies. The two of them used their giant god race bloodline combat skills and unleashed a vast palm of white light. This palm of light was incredibly powerful and also contained the energy of the giant god race bloodline. It was a large-scale attack with incredible destructive power. Chaos Origin God Suppressing Seal. Zhao Feng immediately used a large area of effect attack. He circulated his Chaos Origin Divine Power, condensing a dark seal the size of a mountain. and then hurled it forward. The attacks of the trio covered the entire area. It should be enough. Ancient God Resplendence called out. Be careful, Zhao Feng suddenly shouted. Boom! Ancient God Cheng Yun suddenly charged out of the destructive storm, a bloodthirsty and evil look on his face. Kill! He closed in on Xian Wuheng directly, waving his palms and sending out countless white blades. How could this be? He's not injured at all? Ancient God Resplendence was alarmed. The consciousness body that is stored in his body is very extraordinary, Zhao Feng said in a low voice. In this moment of mortal danger, the demonized ancient god Cheng Yun unleashed extremely profound time intent to dodge to the weakest point of the attack. The giant god race had tough bodies and specialized in defense. After being wounded, he used time intent to rapidly heal his wounds. That thought entity's time power Upanishad was extremely profound. It had reached at least the 8th level, maybe even the 9th level. Moreover, it was using it skillfully. Xiao! A dark gray light flashed, and a little thieving cat appeared on Zhao Feng's shoulder. The people from Ancient Soul Hall are about to arrive. Zhao Feng's expression darkened. There were 5 of them before, and if each of them had gotten a little stronger, they might have been able to contend against the 3 from Ancient Soul Hall. But now, something had happened to Ancient God Cheng Yun, and he had become an enemy. If the 3 from Ancient Soul Hall attacked, they would be in even more danger. We have to finish off Ancient God Cheng Yun as quickly as possible. Zhao Feng blinked to Xian Wuheng's side and informed him of the situation with Ancient Soul Hall. Work together and kill him. Xian Wuheng immediately made up his mind. He and Ancient God Resplendence charged forward, attacking Ancient God Cheng Yun from 2 sides. Xian Wuheng continued to point out with his finger. The might of his finger was strong and profound. Ancient God Resplendence used a water combat skill, filling the sky with enormous palms of water spirit that surged forward like furious waves. Ancient God Cheng Yun's movements were restricted, and he had very little room to dodge. Flame Soul Devil Eye. Zhao Feng unleashed the eye bloodline technique he had been preparing. The majority of his eye bloodline techniques were lock-on attacks, and they didn't have a very large range, making it very difficult for them to hit the demonized ancient god Cheng Yun. This was why Zhao Feng used a soul illusion technique. As long as ancient god Cheng Yun lost consciousness and slowed down, the other eye bloodline techniques could easily hit him. A scarlet-red mist shot out of Zhao Feng's left eye and shot forward. This scorching red soul energy had a rather large range, so the restricted ancient god Cheng Yun was unable to dodge. He's been hit. Ancient God Resplendence rejoiced. The one controlling ancient god Cheng Yun was a thought body. Once he was struck by Zhao Feng's eye bloodline technique, he would definitely be affected, and his control would be greatly reduced. But the imagined scene did not occur. Kill. After entering the range of Zhao Feng's soul illusion technique, ancient god Cheng Yun was not very affected. He turned around and charged at ancient God Resplendence. How could this be? Ancient God Resplendence called out in alarm. Zhao Feng was also taken aback. Although he hadn't used his origin energy, his eye bloodline technique shouldn't have been this weak. After thinking about it, Zhao Feng was sure that it wasn't because his eye bloodline technique was too weak. When this thought body was alive, it had to have been a supreme expert. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for it to possess such powerful time intent. But after all this time, even though it was just a thought body, it still had such a strong resistance to soul attacks. This meant that there was only one possibility. When this thought body was alive, it probably belonged to some extremely powerful and unique ancient race that was extremely resistant to soul attacks. At this moment, rumble, massive explosions came from the entrance. They're coming. Zhao Feng's expression darkened. The demonized ancient god, Cheng Yun, was far too difficult to deal with, and they were quickly unable to subdue him. By now, the 3 members of Ancient Soul Hall had arrived. There's someone else. Ancient god Cheng Yin turned his head toward the entrance, his cold and sinister eyes turning. Boom! Bang! The entrance was destroyed by a powerful divine power attack. The three members of Ancient Soul Hall slowly walked down, faint smiles on their faces. Ancient Soul Hall. Ancient God Resplendence instantly appeared in despair. If Ancient God Cheng Yin hadn't been demonized, they might have been able to fight back if they worked together. The Ancient Soul Hall trio swept their gazes over and froze in place. They had originally believed that the giant god race would be ready for battle, but the result was completely different from what they had imagined. Haha, how laughable! To think that there would still be internal strife at a time like this. A peak rank 8 from Ancient Soul Hall couldn't help but laugh. However, the rank 9 Ancient God and Ancient God JLC noticed that Ancient God Cheng Yun was acting strangely. He's actually been controlled by a thought body. Ancient God JLC put on an interested expression. Good sir, there is no harm in working with us to kill these people. Ancient God JLC added. Ancient God Cheng Yun had clearly been infected and controlled by the evil thoughts, causing him to become enemies with the giant god race. But the fact that Ancient God Cheng Yun had survived until now was proof that he was extremely powerful. Even if the others worked together, they still wouldn't be able to kill him. Not good. Xin Wuheng's expression darkened. Ancient God Cheng Yun had been controlled by a thought body, and that thought body was also in a daze and only knew how to kill. He was originally hoping that Ancient Soul Hall would directly attack Ancient God Cheng Yun. If that happened, Ancient God Cheng Yun would definitely counterattack and become their helper. But to his surprise, Ancient God JLC was so cautious that he wasn't in a rush to attack, instead expressing his goodwill to Ancient God Cheng Yun. For a moment, everyone stared at Ancient God Cheng Yun. His mind was in a daze and extremely unstable. No one knew what Ancient God Cheng Yun would do. All of you, Ancient God Cheng Yun fiercely glared at the Ancient Soul Hall members, his face filled with rage and agitation. The Ancient Soul Hall trio grimaced. Ancient God Cheng Yun's expression seemed a little off. Logically speaking, the one controlling Ancient God Cheng Yun was a thought body, so he shouldn't have so much hatred for them. All of you have their energy on you. Ancient God Cheng Yun's face was savage, seemingly about to explode with boundless rage and resentment. Whoosh! Ancient God Cheng Yun's body flickered as he approached the Ancient Soul Hall trio. Kill! 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 He constantly chanted this word, his body seething with rage and killing intent as he madly swung his hands. Swoosh! The white blades that filled the sky poured down like a white curtain from the sky. What's going on? He's suddenly gone crazy. The rank 9 Ancient God of Ancient Soul Hall blurted out in alarm. Ancient God JLC's expression darkened, but he said nothing. The thought body residing in Ancient God Cheng Yun's body seemed to have an extremely deep grudge against them. It was to the extent that Ancient God Cheng Yun immediately made them his first targets. Boom, boom, boom. Ancient God JLC waved a hand, unleashing several palms of energy to block Ancient God Cheng Yun's attacks. The giant god race members were frozen to the spot. This scene was something that they had not expected. Earlier, the demonized Ancient God Cheng Yun had attacked them out of an instinctive desire for blood and slaughter. But now, Ancient God Cheng Yun seemed to have an extremely important reason for attacking the Ancient Soul Hall trio. Perhaps that thought body had a deep grudge against Ancient Soul Hall when it was alive. However, the Ancestral Legacy Treasury had always been under the control of the giant god race, so the members of Ancient Soul Hall should have never come here before. Kill! Xin Wuheng called out. Now was not the time to think about such things. Escaping was more important. The demonized Ancient God Cheng Yun had gotten much stronger, and now that they were working together, they had a better chance of escaping. Swoosh! 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 The giant god race members and Zhao Feng immediately charged at the Ancient Soul Hall trio. Kill! Ancient God Cheng Yun roared, his body seething with killing intent. A profound time intent shrouded ancient god JLC from time to time, affecting his condition. Giant god Finger, Xin Wuheng, circulated his giant god race bloodline, unleashing powerful attacks and profound intent. Tribulation Lightning Eye Flame. Zhao Feng undid the seal on his origin energy and used a powerful Tribulation Lightning Eye bloodline technique. After this round of attacks, Zhao Feng's group immediately charged out. Although they could currently fight against half-step god lords, if this battle continued, they would be the first to give out. Don't even think about escaping. Ancient God JLC's expression darkened as he pursued. Kill! Kill! Ancient God Cheng Yun's eyes were red, his mind dominated by rage and killing intent as he madly attacked Ancient God JLC. A profound time intent descended on Ancient God JLC's body, affecting his condition and lowering his speed. Damn, this scoundrel! Ancient God JLC was furious. The demonized Ancient God Cheng Yun was incredibly fast, and his resistance to soul attacks was even stronger than the ancient soul races, making him extremely difficult to deal with. In addition, Ancient God JLC's group still had no idea how they had offended the thought body controlling Ancient God Cheng Yun. Chapter 1372. They're out. Ancient God Resplendence rejoiced. She had never imagined that she would be able to escape so smoothly because of Ancient God Cheng Yun. You can't escape. Ancient God JLC's furious voice resounded through the Heaven's Legacy Race building. Zhao Feng's group fled from the Heaven's Legacy Race building. No matter how strong Ancient God Cheng Yun was, he could not stop the trio from Ancient Soul Hall. Ancient God JLC's group had no time to fight with Ancient God Cheng Yun. Their goal was the Ancient God Seal, to kill Zhao Feng and the Giant God race. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 3 dark figures and a white light rushed out at the same time. Kill. All of you must die. Ancient God Cheng Yun had already gone mad. Seething with rage and killing intent, he stared at the Ancient Soul Hall trio and attacked with reckless abandon. This guy, Ancient God JLC, was trembling in anger. If not for Ancient God Cheng Yun's interference, they would have long ago captured Zhao Feng's group. Why did Ancient God Cheng Yun hate them so much that he insisted on opposing them? They've escaped. The rank 9 Ancient God of Ancient Soul Hall immediately said, Chase. The Ancient Soul Hall trio naturally could not allow Zhao Feng's group to escape, so they gave chase. But Ancient God Cheng Yun was even faster. Buzz. A strange ripple of energy engulfed Ancient God JLC's group. They were already flying at high speed, but they were getting further and further away from Zhao Feng and the others. Scram! Ancient God JLC couldn't help but curse, and then he thrust out a palm. Xiao! Ancient God Cheng Yun easily dodged Ancient God JLC's palm. But when the palm of black light brushed past Ancient God Cheng Yun, a sinister black crocodile suddenly charged out. The moment the crocodile flew out, it grew to the size of a small house and bit down on Ancient God Cheng Yun. This black crocodile was Ancient God JLC's soul beast, a strange creature that attacked and devoured souls. However, the thought body in Ancient God Cheng Yun's body was extremely resistant to soul attacks. Coupled with the effects of the time profundity, the black crocodile's damage to him was extremely slow. Ancient God Cheng Yun used this chance to struggle. Let's go and kill Xin Wuheng and the others before this guy breaks free and take back the Ancient God Seal. Ancient God JLC barked. Zhao Feng and the others, who were fleeing, suddenly felt a dark and powerful aura rapidly approaching them from behind. The ancient soul race had always been skilled in speed, and as a half-step godlord, Ancient God JLC was even faster. Not good. They've escaped from Ancient God Cheng Yun. Ancient God Sundermount immediately said. They originally believed that Ancient God Cheng Yun would hold down the Ancient Soul Hall trio while they used this chance to escape. However, Ancient God Cheng was only rather difficult to deal with, not capable of holding down a half-step godlord. Don't even think about going anywhere. Ancient God JLC heartily laughed as he circulated his divine power and soul energy and thrust out a palm. Boom! The black waves that filled the sky surged forward rapidly. Dot! Xian Wuheng immediately said. Ancient God JLC's soul attack contained level 9 water intent. Once struck, it would be extremely difficult to escape. The darkness intent in a soul attack would have an enormous effect on soul intent, causing one's fighting power to plummet. If Ancient God Resplendence and Ancient God Sundermount were struck by this attack, their souls would immediately sink into silence. You can't escape, Zhao Feng straightforwardly said. After a few moments of discussion, they reached an agreement. Boom! A moment later, Xian Wuheng, Ancient God Resplendence, and Ancient God Sundermount activated their bloodlines, causing a dazzling white light to illuminate the world. When the light dissipated, 3 incomparably huge giants stood between heaven and earth. A bloodline energy that could intimidate all living beings instantly began to spread out. A last-minute counterattack. Ancient God, JLC sneered. In his view, Xian Wuheng's group knew that they couldn't escape, so they were prepared to fight with all their strength for a chance at survival. Ancient God JLC's soul beast was restraining Ancient God Cheng Yun, causing his strength to drop. But after consuming the celestial soul purifying spirit dew, his soul injuries had all been healed, and he had long ago returned to his peak state. Xian Wuheng, Ancient God JLC's body began to twist, transforming into a black and transparent soul body that exuded a dreadful soul pressure. Hisses. Black waves of water appeared around Ancient God JLC, and it took only a few moments for them to form into a massive wave. Suddenly, the wave twisted and turned into a massive black skeletal claw that snatched at Xian Wuheng. Whoosh! Although Xian Wuheng's body was enormous, his wind intent allowed him to move very quickly. After dodging Ancient God JLC's attack, Xian Wuheng thrust out a finger. In the face of this massive finger, the Ancient Soul Hall trio could only retreat. If you don't run, we'll be able to save some effort. The other two immediately released their soul beasts. One was a rhinoceros with spikes on its back, and the other was a slender lizard. After devouring soul energy, the two soul beasts rapidly grew in size, and then they began to use soul attacks to attack Ancient God Resplendence and Ancient God Sundermount. Ancient Soul Hall bastards die. Ancient God Sundermount roared, stirring up the earth intent of the world as he punched. Ancient God Sundermount fought against a rank 8 Ancient God of Ancient Soul Hall, while Ancient God Resplendence clashed with a rank 9 Ancient God. Meanwhile, Zhao Feng and Xian Wuheng worked together to deal with Ancient God JLC. Tribulation Lightning Eye Flame. Zhao Feng had been behind Xian Wuheng this entire time, occasionally firing eye bloodline techniques at Ancient God JLC. Kid, don't try to show off your soul eye bloodline techniques in front of this old man. Ancient God JLC sneered. Although Zhao Feng's eye bloodline techniques could be unleashed instantaneously, Ancient God JLC was able to sense them locking onto him and instantly avoid his vitals. Moreover, he also used a defensive soul art to greatly weaken them. Zhao Feng pretended not to hear and continued to unleash soul eye bloodline techniques. Crucially, however, Zhao Feng's actions could affect Ancient God JLC so that he couldn't use his full power to deal with Xian Wuheng. Giant God Finger. Xian Wuheng gathered up his energy, summoned the 5 elements intent of the world, and thrust out a finger. Broom! The entire ground cracked open, leaving behind an incomparably huge crater. These people have all gotten stronger, especially Xian Wuheng and Zhao Feng. Ancient God JLC's expression darkened. Zhao Feng's cultivation was already approaching the peak of rank 8, while Xian Wuheng, after entering seclusion, was approaching the peak of rank 9. Earlier, ancient god JLC was brimming with confidence and didn't care about the giant god race. But now he had to put all his strength into this. Besides, he didn't have any time to waste. Once ancient god Changyin arrived, he would be in trouble. It's about time to end this. Ancient god JLC indifferently said. Swish! In front of him, a dark, watery pearl appeared, from which all sorts of miserable screams could be faintly heard. Ancient god JLC opened his mouth and swallowed it. Boom! Ancient god JLC's body slightly swelled, and a cold and gloomy soul energy began to exude, causing the world to darken. Soul-annihilating roar. Ancient god JLC's soul body suddenly swelled and became round. Suddenly, he opened his mouth and spat out a pitch-black tornado. As this tornado sped forward, it began to absorb the energy of the world and pull in the souls of others. What's going on? Ancient god Sundermount called out in alarm. He suddenly felt as if his soul was being pulled by a powerful force towards the pitch-black tornado. Nearby, ancient god Resplendence was faring a little better, but her soul was also being pulled on at all times, making it impossible for her to fight with all her strength. Elder has swallowed a nether soul pearl. He's preparing to finish us off. The rank 9 ancient gods of Ancient Soul Hall rejoiced. Nether soul pearls were created by ancient soul hall experts by extracting powerful souls and using a special technique. By using this pearl as an energy source, one could use a special secret soul art to instantly raise their power by another level. Oh no! Xian Wuheng had an unprecedentedly grave expression. The trump card of a half-step god lord was enough to heavily injure or even kill an ordinary peak rank 9 ancient god. Moreover, ancient god JLC's trump card was a soul attack, making it even more dangerous. The rapidly approaching pitch-black tornado was enormous and imbued with a powerful suction force. Xian Wuheng could not completely dodge it. He also knew that as long as a small part of his soul was hit by the black tornado, his entire soul body would be slowly sucked in and minced into pieces. Not even Zhao Feng would be able to help him against such a powerful area of effect soul attack. Since that's the case, I can only do this. Xian Wuheng was like a giant mountain as he stood motionless, waiting to die. The rank 9 ancient god of Ancient Soul Hall faintly smiled. How could Xian Wuheng possibly block ancient god JLC's trump card, especially a soul attack? It seemed like Xian Wuheng knew that he couldn't deal with it and had given up on resisting. But ancient god JLC suddenly sensed that the world around him had changed. Boom! At this time, Xian Wuheng's body burst forth with a peerless bloodline divine power. At the same time, a wondrous energy spread out from his soul and seeped into the world. In a flash, only 5 elements energy remained in the world. All other intents and energies were suppressed and pushed aside. Whoosh! The moment this power appeared, the pitch-black tornado suddenly froze. Although it was a soul attack, it was still affected. The profundity of darkness slowly faded. Even a 9-stage water profundity was greatly suppressed by Xian Wuheng's will. What's going on, this energy? The 2 members of Ancient Soul Hall suddenly sensed that their souls, divine power, intents, and all other kinds of energy had been completely suppressed, and they couldn't even use them. This is the power of Allah. Ancient God JLC was dazed for a long while before he finally spoke. As a half-step God Lord, he naturally understood this power. Allah was the ultimate existence above level 9 intents. Only a God Lord could possess it, and it was a realm that he dreamed of reaching. This is the power of Allah. Zhao Feng was flabbergasted. At this moment, all the energy in the world, including ancient God JLC's pitch-black tornado, was suppressed by the power of a God Lord and seemed to slow down. If that's the case, Xian Wuheng can block this attack. Zhao Feng's eyes focused, the eye intent in his left eye rippling with dreamy light. God eye duplication. Zhao Feng's left eye focused on the pitch-black tornado. Normally, even if Zhao Feng used all his power, he would find it very difficult to duplicate the trump card of a half-step godlord. But at this moment, the pitch-black tornado was somewhat weakened, so perhaps he could succeed. Boom! The heavily weakened and suppressed pitch-black tornado slammed into Xian Wuheng's body. Xian Wuheng was like an ancient mountain that had existed for 1,000 years. He stood motionless, as if nothing could affect him at this moment. He blocked it. Ancient god Jalesia's heart tightened. Xian Wuheng had used a secret art to mobilize the hidden energy in his body to block his trump card. Humph. After using the power of a godlord, you're already an arrow at the end of its flight. How much longer can you last? Ancient god Jalesi sneered as he charged forward, ready to strike when the opportunity presented itself. But suddenly, he sensed that something was wrong behind him. With a sweep of his divine sense, ancient god Jalesi grimaced. At some point, a silver eye of heaven had appeared behind him. Suddenly, the silver eye erupted with dreamy mist, and then a pitch-black tornado surged out and engulfed ancient god Jalesia's group of 3. Chapter 1373. God-Eye Duplication. Soul-Destroying Roar. The pitch-black tornado suddenly rushed out and engulfed the 3 members of Ancient Soul Hall. One could see the soul of the peak rank 8 ancient god of Ancient Soul Hall being sucked into the black tornado. A few moments later, it was ground to pieces and turned into a source of energy for the black tornado to increase its power. The rank 9 ancient god of Ancient Soul Hall sensed it long ago, but he could not dodge and could only do his utmost to block. How could this be? This is my secret technique. Ancient god Jalesi was flabbergasted. However, in the face of a life-or-death crisis, he had no time to think too much. He could only activate his soul defense secret technique, and a layer of dark, rotating water flowed around his body. Boom! Shio! The pitch-black tornado passed through the Ancient Soul Hall trio and rumbled into the distance. Thump! The peak rank 8 and rank 9 ancient gods of Ancient Soul Hall dropped to the ground. Their souls had already been pulled away by the pitch-black tornado, and nothing was left of them. Only ancient god Jalesia's pitch-black soul remained floating in the sky, appearing extremely weak and dim. After all, the soul-annihilating roar was one of his supreme techniques. Ancient god Jalesi was extremely familiar with its principles, so it was easier for him to deal with it. Hoo-hoo! The wind and clouds surged, and the feeling of suppressing everything instantly vanished. In the distance, Xian Wuheng looked exhausted, and his body slowly shrank. Using God-Lord-level energy placed an enormous burden on his body. If he did not control it well enough, it could even cause massive damage to his foundation. Ancient god Jalesi stared at Xian Wuheng in fear. Just now, Xian Wuheng's control was even stronger, and he could have used the power of a god lord to heavily injure him. How do you know my secret soul skill? Ancient god Jalesi gloomily stared at Zhao Feng. Originally, after Xian Wuheng used the power of a divine master, he would definitely enter a period of weakness. As long as he waited for the right time, he would be able to harvest the entire battlefield. However, Zhao Feng had used some unknown method to unleash his consummate skill, Soul Annihilation Roar. The Ancient Soul Hall trio had not expected this. Caught off guard, 2 Ancient Soul Hall members were killed, and Ancient God Jalesia's soul was severely injured. At this moment, he could only display 40% of his peak strength at most. What's going on? Ancient God Resplendence and Ancient God Sundermount stood in a daze, their minds blank. In that instant, too many things had happened. It was too shocking. First, Ancient God Jalesi used a powerful soul-killing move to take Xian Wuheng's life, but Xian Wuheng exploded with the God Lord power hidden in his body, intimidating Ancient God Jalesia's group. Soon after, Zhao Feng used Ancient God Jalesia's secret skill, catching Ancient Soul Hall off guard and killing 2 ancient gods. The eye of heaven in the sky disappeared. The consumption of God, duplication, depended on the condition of the object being duplicated. For Zhao Feng to duplicate the trump card of a half-step God Lord, the consumption was enormous. Instead of worrying about your own life, you're more concerned about this. Zhao Feng looked at ancient God JLC and faintly smiled. Haha, even if you kill the two of them, you won't be able to do anything to me with your current strength. Ancient God JLC was taken aback at first, and then he began to laugh. Firstly, he was a half-step God Lord of the ancient soul race, so he was the fastest person present. Secondly, Xian Wuheng had used the power of a God Lord, so he would find it very difficult to use the rest of his strength. Although he didn't know how Zhao Feng had managed to create his secret skill, he had definitely used up a great deal of energy, and his strength had dropped. As for Ancient God Resplendence and Ancient God Sundermount, he had no need to worry about them. Kill! Zhao Feng called out. The three members of the giant god race immediately moved out. Their hatred for Ancient Soul Hall far surpassed that of Zhao Feng's. Zhao Feng's group of 4 charged at Ancient God JLC. Tribulation Lightning Eye Flame. Zhao Feng circulated tribulation lightning energy, condensed a bolt of lightning flame, and fired it at Ancient God JLC. Ancient God JLC was extremely weak at this time, his senses and resistance greatly reduced. Zhao Feng's tribulation lightning eye flame struck him. Moreover, the power of the tribulation lightning eye flame was related to the strength and quantity of tribulation lightning energy. It had little to do with one's soul or eye intent. Hiss! Ancient God JLC hissed, a look of surprise on his face. The eye bloodline technique Zhao Feng used was not much weaker than it was before. Blazing Wind Finger. Xian Wuheng flew over and thrust out a finger. Even without using his giant god race bloodline, he was still very strong, and his profound intent made him capable of extraordinary damage. Boom! Bang! Crash! On the other side, Ancient God Resplendence and Ancient God Sundermount unleashed countless palms and fists at Ancient God JLC. Damn! Ancient God JLC had an extremely nasty grimace. 2 of his teammates were dead, and he was heavily injured. He could no longer do anything to Zhao Feng and Xian Wuheng. But Ancient God JLC was unwilling to leave because he didn't want to admit defeat. This was the 3rd time he had failed, and this time it could no longer be called a failure. It was a miserable defeat, a complete and utter defeat. But his opponents had the numbers advantage. If he continued to fight, it would only be disadvantageous to Ancient God JLC. This old man will definitely take revenge for this. Ancient God JLC clenched his teeth and fled. Ancient God JLC, haven't you forgotten something? Zhao Feng suddenly smiled. Oh no! Ancient God JLC grimaced. Thwish! A ray of white light suddenly flashed in front of him, and it was rapidly approaching him. Kill! I'll kill you! Ancient God Chengyun, his face savage and furious, instantly appeared in front of Ancient God JLC. Swoosh! Several white blades slashed down, piercing through Ancient God JLC's body. Moreover, strange ripples of energy began to spread through his surroundings, causing Ancient God JLC's speed and movements to slow down. Whoosh! 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 At this moment, Zhao Feng and the giant god race members rapidly approached. Ripples of multicolored energy instantly engulfed Ancient God JLC. Ancient God JLC had an extremely nasty grimace. He originally believed that while he couldn't do anything to Zhao Feng and Xian Wuheng, they wouldn't be able to do anything to him either. With his speed, escaping would be extremely easy. But Ancient God JLC had forgotten about the troublesome Ancient God Chengyun. Damn, I can only ask for help. Ancient God JLC's face was ashen. As a half-step God Lord, he was forced to ask for help by a group of rank 9 and rank 8 ancient gods. When he thought about this, Ancient God JLC felt utterly humiliated. But with Ancient God Chengyun present, he couldn't escape this group. If this continued, The wounds to his soul would only get worse and worse, and he might never be able to enter the ranks of godlords. Ancient God JLC immediately used his message token to ask for help from the other half-step god lord and Yuheng. Ask for help? When Yuheng received this message, he froze, his face rather cold. Which squad has entered the perilous area of this space, encountered danger, and sent us a distress call? Ancient God Destruction Flow asked. After all, this dimension was filled with treasures. Even half-step god lords would find it impossible to resist the allure of these strange treasures. Apart from searching for the whereabouts of Exine Wuheng and the other two squads would definitely search for precious materials as well. Ancient God Destruction Flow was in the same team as Yuheng, so he could only follow Yuheng to search for the Ancient God Seal. Otherwise, if he encountered a resource that he needed, he would also put aside the search mission. Ancient Soul Hall's Ancient God Prison C team found Exine Wuheng's group, but they were defeated and helplessly sent out a request for help. A smile suddenly appeared on Yu Heng's cold face, sending chills down everyone's spines. Yu Heng placed great emphasis on the words Ancient Soul Hall. Before entering this place, God Lord Stellar Aspect had emphasized time and time again that they had to listen to Yu Heng's orders, or else they would have to bear the consequences. But in the end, the people of Ancient Soul Hall did not do as God Lord Stellar Aspect said. How is this possible? The Ancient God JLC team was defeated? Ancient God Destruction Flow was alarmed. Although he hoped that Ancient God JLC would fail, this sort of failure was simply too unreasonable. The other peak rank, 8, was also in disbelief. Ancient God JLC had failed so badly that he had to ask the other teams for help. Let's hurry over. Ancient God Destruction Flow had an excited expression. Exine Wuheng's team and Ancient God JLC's team had just experienced a major battle, so they were bound to be extremely weak. If they rushed over, they would definitely end everything with an absolute advantage. When the time came, they would even be able to watch Ancient God JLC make a fool of himself. It's very far away. Yuan called out. Could it be that the Destiny Tao energy intentionally led me here? Yu Heng's expression darkened as he mentally said to himself. He didn't have this sort of feeling before, but now that he thought about the situation and many other details, he realized this possibility. On the other side, Zhao Feng and the Giant God Race team were working together to pursue Ancient God JLC. All of you will die a miserable death. Ancient God JLC's body was dim and devoid of light, and he had a miserable expression on his face. He could only use defensive secret arts to minimize the damage he took. Suddenly, Zhao Feng stopped. Let's go. Retreat for now. Zhao Feng flatly said. What? Ancient God Resplendence immediately asked. They had the advantage at this moment, and if they continued to pursue, they might even be able to kill Ancient God JLC. Why retreat? There might be other Ancient Soul Hall experts in this dimension. Zhao Feng straightforwardly said. Ancient God JLC had been extremely anxious before, but he had suddenly calmed down. There had to be a reason for this. These words alarmed the members of the Giant God race. What Zhao Feng said was completely possible. If other experts of Ancient Soul Hall arrived, they would be powerless to fight back in their current state. As for Ancient God Chungyun, he had completely lost his mind. If they tried to stop him, they might even suffer a counterattack and invite disaster upon themselves. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Zhao Feng's group suddenly began to retreat. They actually ran. Ancient God JLC's expression darkened. His reinforcements would arrive very quickly, but Zhao Feng's group had run. His injuries were even more severe now, and he no longer had the ability to stop Zhao Feng's group. Besides, Ancient God Chungyun was still relentlessly entangling him. Whoosh! A soul-piercing chill suddenly appeared in the distance. Then, 3 silhouettes slowly appeared. The one in the lead was shrouded in snowflakes, revealing only her cold and elegant face. Ancient God Ice Jade. Ancient God JLC was elated. JLC, I didn't think that you would be so careless and end up in such a miserable state. Ancient God Ice Jade flatly said as she glanced at Ancient God Chungyun. The soul-piercing chill penetrated deep into Ancient God Chungyun's body and seemed to wake him up a little. Ancient God Ice Jade was also a half-step God Lord, and the pressure she exuded was even stronger than Ancient God JLC at his peak. You also have their energy on you. Ancient God Chungyun's face was furious and gloomy as he stopped in the air. At this moment, there were two half-step God Lords in front of him, but Ancient God Chungyun still did not immediately retreat. From this, one could see just how deep his hatred for Ancient Soul Hall was. Suddenly, Ancient God Chungyun grimaced, most of his anger vanishing. Come here, come here. A summoning voice came from the soul, piercing through space-time to resound in the mind of the thought body. This summoning voice was extremely warm and familiar, causing the thought body in Ancient God Chungyun's body to become even calmer and more urgent to go over. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.